This place is Haotu Shenzhou, where medicine fields, caves, beast chariots, flying boats, and secret realms are maintained everywhere. The cultivators utilize the spiritual energy of heaven and earth as their power and have comprehended the 5 major cultivation realms, which are Foundation Stage, Mingyuan Stage, Transcendent Stage, Dao Stage, and Low Saint Stage. The cultivators have each founded their own powerful empires, among which Dynasty Mingzhu is the strongest and has the largest territory. One beautiful day, just like any other beautiful day, a large chariot suddenly appeared, making everyone marvel. On the road, a golden cloud-fire chariot was pulled by 9 cloud-drifting divine horses, racing at high speed. Dust was flying everywhere, and the chariot's body flickered in and out of existence, shimmering like a divine toy. The entire chariot appeared to be made of pure gold, heading straight for Tianzhu City. The coachman turned his head and asked with excitement in his eyes where you wishes to go. Inside the carriage was a lazy young man holding a cup of wine. The table in front of him was filled with precious, luxurious items. He coldly replied his destination and that the coachman should not be so surprised. The coachman felt extremely excited, thinking to himself that it was just like the young master of the Ku family to head straight to the brothel upon returning to the city. The young man in the carriage was named Ku Tianzhao. Not long ago, whether it was through time travel or body snatching, according to the prompts from this system, he had undergone a soul integration and become the only son of Jai Yi Marquis, the leader among 36 divine marquises, bearing the responsibility of the Mingzhu dynasty. He was also known as one of the most extravagant spenders. However, after the system completed the soul integration for Ku Tianzhao, he remained in a state of waiting for opportunities not to be given. From a young age, Ku Tianzhao had very little cultivation, not because of poor talent, but because he had always grown up under the pampering of his parents. His father often said that he should not worry about cultivation, and his mother agreed, emphasizing the importance of enjoying life. Thanks to such loving and indulgent parents, not only did his cultivation not improve, but Ku Tianzhao's spending habits became increasingly extravagant. Wherever he went, he threw money around like leaves. After a long time of living a carefree life like this, Ku Tianzhao no longer had the desire to cultivate. He had come to a realization that since he was already here, he might as well live peacefully. Living a life of extravagant spending was not such a bad thing after all. Soon, the carriage arrived at its destination. The coachman politely stepped down to announce that they had arrived at a place where the young ladies were only limited by one's imagination. He exclaimed that the young master should take a look at which young lady he would like to choose. Ku Tianzhao replied that he was interested in the 2 most beloved young ladies of Kinger Tower. Madam responded that the young master was quite the connoisseur who knows how to choose. She wondered if the young master had already chosen a lady to entertain him. Ku Tianzhao, with his eyes half closed, smiled and said that he wanted to see if the 2 most beloved young ladies of Kinger Tower, Ming Lu and Ying Su, were still there. The madam, with a greedy gaze, rubbed her hands and stated that the young master was a regular customer but reminded him of the rule that a guest could only choose 1 young lady. Ku Tianzhao continued by asking if there were exceptions, causing the madam to stare wide-eyed in shock. Besides the 2 sisters, Ming Lu and Ying Su, he also wanted to call the people in 2 volumes. One would come upstairs to serve and the other would be displayed for viewing. The madam seemed struck by lightning, stammering and unable to speak, exclaiming that no rule allowed such behavior. Ku Tianzhao immediately pulled out 3 Mingzhu spirit coins and slapped them directly onto the madam's face, asking if there could possibly be such a rule. Madam saw the golden glimmer on 3 spirit coin tickets and her face turned pale, her inner self in extreme shock. These were spirit coin tickets that the rich in Dynasty Mingzhu commonly used, each worth 50,000 spirit coins. A regular person like her could barely live on 800 or 1,000 spirit coins a month. This person just casually spent 150,000. Suddenly, Madam's expression changed, and she cheerfully said that from today onward, the young master was the rule. She instructed the ladies to go and attend to the young master. As soon as she finished speaking, beautiful women from many directions gracefully approached, flaunting their curves and trying to make a good first impression. Upon seeing Ku Tianzhao, an extremely handsome young man, one girl exclaimed in amazement that it was young Master Ku. It's Ku Tianzhao, young Master Ku, the only son of Ku Zhongyi, Zai Marquis, the second richest man in Mingzhu and the first to enter Heavenly Dao through business. Hearing this, the young ladies no longer hesitated and frantically rushed to embrace Ku Tianzhao as if they were starving. Accompanying this were sweet, flattering sounds that continuously rang in his ears. The other men in the building were astonished, their mouths agape, as they exclaimed that this was the young master who had sold the ransom before. They wondered if he had returned after being missing for several years. They heard that Ku young master never cared about the denomination as long as it was something valuable. Dozens of young ladies surrounded him, competing to hug and serve Ku Tianzhao. Finally, they could see young Master Ku again after 3 years. They expressed how much they had missed him, dismissing rumors of troubles for him outside as envious gossip. Upon hearing these words, Ku Tianzhao felt delighted and without hesitation, pulled out 2 spirit coins and handed them to the young lady beside him, saying that her sweet words pleased him and thus he rewarded her with 20,000. Then he continued to pull out 3 more bills and handed them to the young lady who was massaging his feet below, commenting on how smooth her hands were and rewarding her with 30,000 for her hard work. Next, Ku Tianzhao kept throwing out gold and excitedly commented that one young lady had lost some volume in her chest, perhaps from missing him so much, and gave her 50,000 to buy high-quality nourishment. The other young ladies saw this and eagerly demanded that they also be recognized, arguing over who should be felt first or given attention. At this moment, suddenly, a stunningly beautiful young lady, standing out among the others, shouted for them to stop being noisy and help the young master to his room if they didn't know how to serve. This woman was named Ming Lu, the #1 beauty of Kinger Tower. Ku Tianzhao happily put his arm around Ming Lu and said that he found an amazing hairpin for her. Ming Lu quickly gestured with her hand, suggesting they discuss important matters later. Then she whispered in Ku Tianzhao's ear that Lu Ling wanted to see him. Ming Lu led Ku Tianzhao to the room, opened the door, and entered. Inside was a very beautiful young woman who suffered from a respiratory illness, which had caused her lungs to swell significantly. She was Ming Lu's younger sister, Lu Ling. As soon as Lu Ling saw Ku Tianzhao enter, her eyes filled with tears, and her face showed excitement as she exclaimed that it was really him. She apologized for doubting him after Ming Lu had told her. Then Lu Ling took Ku Tianzhao's hand and continued by reminding him of his promise to help her break off the engagement. Ku Tianzhao, upon hearing this, felt a sense of obligation, knowing that Lu Ling and he had known each other since childhood. As they grew up, Lu Ling was pressured by her family to marry Qin Yun, the 17th son of Qin Kuyang, divine Marquis Mingzhu. At the age of 4, Qin Yun achieved enlightenment, and by 10, he began to exert his strength, successfully passing through the 3rd and 6th thresholds to the foundation stage, reaching the 12th level of the foundation stage in full completion. At 14, relying on an unparalleled opportunity, he successfully advanced to the lower realm of Ming Yuan stage. His actual combat power had reached the level of the peak of the Ming Yuan stage, which is why he was called Monstrous Talent, the #1 genius of Tianzhu City. However, 3 years ago, Qin Yun lost control, suffering a drastic decline in his power, becoming a useless person at the 1st level of the foundation stage. His mood often led him to mistreat Lu Ling. 3 years ago, the original owner of Ku Tianzhao's body promised to help her cancel the engagement, but now, with the current situation, what should be done? After all, one would have to face Qin Yun, the model of a useless son of destiny. It was rumored that with the treasure relic Black Ring, his cultivation was recovering extremely quickly in a single day. And adding to that, Lu Ling's cancelled engagement, wasn't it just a push toward a kind of 3-year catastrophe that had already filled up, hacking his path to begin changing his destiny? An evil character adding pressure at a time when the son of destiny is facing adversity like himself would become the first stepping stone on his path to advancement. Suddenly, the system displayed a notification for the mainline mission. Ku Tianzhao selected the task, a long-term continuous mainline mission titled, Train Our Newcomer. Mistreat the Son of Destiny. Countless times, Prodigal Son with the Son of Destiny. Mission details required devising a practical and feasible plan to annul the engagement by today, taking Lu Ling, the fiancé of Qin Yun, the useless son of destiny, to his home to break off the engagement. It was required to deal at least 80 damage points to Qin Yun. Completion rewards would unlock the prodigal son's exclusive treasure vault, the infinite celestial treasury. Failure punishment was direct death for the host. Ku Tianzhao was profoundly shaken inside, questioning the cruelty of it all. Right now, he was just a prodigal son with nothing but money. What did he have to fight against someone else's son of destiny? Wasn't it obvious that they wanted him to sacrifice himself? The system reminded him that damage points were effective based on negative emotions damage received along with the level of luck and energy condensation. Whether the son of destiny was harmed or not, any actions by the host that adversely affected the interests of the son of destiny would be counted as damage points against him. Specific manifestations included 20 points for frowning in displeasure, 40 for clenching fists tightly, 60 for inability to think clearly, 80 for spitting blood, and 100 for inner demons rising. The system further advised that directly going to the house to insult the engagement would only trigger the fighting will of the son of destiny, with a maximum effective damage of 20 points. The strongest weapon the prodigal son could use against the son of destiny was spending lavishly. If before sunrise, he spent more than 300,000 spirit coins and simultaneously acquired a qualified henchman, there would be a surprise. Current amount spent was 0. Ku Tianzhao was extremely startled after reading these notifications, realizing that his little life was about to be lost before sunrise. How could he afford to spend money right now? Wait, could it be that the mission contained a gift package for newcomers that could turn the situation around, with the activation condition being squandering and acquiring a henchman? Ming Lu suddenly saw Ku Tianzhao in a daze and asked if something was troubling him, urging him not to be silent and to help Lu Ling. Lu Ling had been changed from the main wife to a concubine by Qin Yun, who suspected she wanted to secretly take revenge and had found another way to torment her. Lu Ling had been forced to the point of hiding here to do menial work, but the Mu family was afraid of the Qin family, so they had cut off their relationship with her. Even worse, that dog Qin Yun, after discovering that Lu Ling was hiding here, had lured the 19th prince, the most lecherous one, to come here and ask Lu Ling to serve wine. If Ming Lu had not acted in time, Lu Ling's innocence would have been lost. Hearing this, Ku Tianzhao felt furious, thinking that he had long heard of Qin Yun's brutal and arrogant behavior, but he never expected a son of destiny to do such despicable and beastly things. He thought perhaps it might be a bit too much to ruin someone's reputation in front of everyone by coming to their home to break off the engagement, but now it seemed that what had happened to Qin Yun was well deserved. Ku Tianzhao then said that helping her to cancel the engagement was not difficult, but Qin Yun carried good fortune and was a son of destiny. Perhaps it wouldn't take long before he could demonstrate his might, establish a new career, and even claim kingship overall. By that time, would Lu Ling still be unwilling to rely on him and share the glory with him? Lu Ling was so angry that her whole body trembled, crying and resentfully saying that from the moment he asked her to serve wine to the 19th prince, he became an enemy of life and death to her. She hated him and even more hated the identity of Qin Yun's fiancé. He only wanted a tool, but she wanted to be a person. They were fundamentally incompatible. Ku Tianzhao thought silently that if she had made up her mind and decided to stake everything, then he had no reason to refuse anymore. Even without the system's mission, he must lend her a hand. Ku Tianzhao held Lu Ling's hand and said that what he promised her 3 years ago, he would not go back on his word, but she must know that in this world, nothing could be obtained without paying a price. Lu Ling did not hesitate to ask what Ku Tianzhao meant for her to do. Ku Tianzhao smiled and replied that she should be his henchman. Upon hearing this, the two sisters of the Mu family looked confused, not really understanding this role. Ku Tianzhao then took out a card and said that perhaps becoming a prodigal son's henchman was a shameful thing in the eyes of others, but he wanted to tell Lu Ling that being his henchman and taking care of matters beside him meant that the notion of losing face should be eliminated. This crystal card was her welcome gift. Ming Lu's eyes lit up with admiration, recognizing the card as the black crystal card of Ming Zhu, exclusively for the nobility of the dynasty. Ordinary people, even if they had money, were not qualified to use it. Lu Ling was also somewhat excited internally, not to mention that the amount of money that could be used with this card was at least 150,000 spirit coins. Ku Tianzhao smiled and continued, saying if Lu Ling did not refuse, he would take it as her agreement, and he proposed a monthly payment of 200,000 spirit coins, which would provide her with daily necessities and cultivation resources. If she encountered any difficulties or if the money wasn't enough, she should come to find him, and he could also give her an additional 150,000 spirit coins each month to handle any unexpected expenses. At that moment, Lu Ling was completely overwhelmed by the 150,000 welcome fee, the 200,000 salary, and various other enormous expenses, taking her all at once to the point of fainting. For the first time, she felt scared because of the sheer amount of money. In the next moment, without saying a word, Ku Tianzhao directly handed a beast ring to Lu Ling, saying to take this as it was the beast ring for his golden cloud fire chariot. She could use it to ride the chariot, which was worth no less than 1,000,000 spirit coins, and a prodigal son only rides it once. Now it belonged to her. Holding the beast ring in her hand, Lu Ling was somewhat astonished. The car costs nearly 1,000,000 spirit coins, and they gave it to her just like that. Was this the treatment for a henchman? Which family servant was treated like this? Lu Ling happily replied that even the name of the Qin family, after a whole year of benefits, adds up to only 100,000 spirit coins. Lu Ling in just 1 month had already surpassed him several times. Ku Tianzhao then asked Lu Ling what the cumulative training resource of Qin Yun was 1 month back, approximately how many spirit coins. Lu Ling bowed her head and respectfully answered that the Qin family's struggle was complex, and Qin Yun was just the youngest son. Previously, it was approximately 12,000, but now the once talented individual had fallen, and he only had about 500 left. Ku Tianzhao could not help but be astonished, remarking that the winnings from Qin Yun's peak were merely 1/20th of hers. What does he have to compare with her now? Then he gently continued, saying that if Lu Ling wanted to cancel the engagement, she must not lose her momentum, especially since she couldn't embarrass him. Did she understand? Lu Ling replied that she understood. Ku Tianzhao shook his head, saying it seemed she didn't understand. She didn't even know how to be his female henchman. What was the most important thing? As he spoke, he took out another card, emphasizing that a female henchman under this young master must be beautiful and confident. He instructed Ming Lu that by sunset tomorrow, he wanted to see a completely new Lu Ling. She should buy whatever she needed, just buy it if she liked it, and not waste time looking at prices. He specified clothes from Golden Silk Shop, makeup from Drunk Flower Face, and jewelry from Cloud Grace Pavilion. Whatever she could get, she should go all out for him, not saving money on his behalf. Lu Ling was astonished, unable to close her mouth. These brands were all favorites of imperial princesses, each item with a sky-high price. Did he really want her to buy everything? Ming Lu exclaimed while holding the card, feeling a bit sorry for Qin Yun. Ku Tianzhao stroked his chin in contemplation and said that it was still not enough. He needed 3 foundation stage treasures of the 7th level that looked truly beautiful for Lu Ling to wear, so she would blind Qin Yun with envy as soon as he saw her. He wanted her to appear in a way that would make just one piece of her jewelry worth more than Qin Yun's entire existence. Did she understand? Lu Ling trembled, astonished at the mention of 7th level foundation stage treasures. Many cultivators would spend all their resources to upgrade their cultivation and might not even be able to buy one. But young Master Ku has casually mentioned wanting to buy 3. Ku Tianzhao asked if they were implying that he was squandering. Lu Ling hurriedly waved her hands, saying that they didn't mean that. Surprisingly, Ku Tianzhao placed his hands on his hips, tilting his face to the sky, and said arrogantly that he really was a prodigal son. After all, he was a man who could waste 1,000,000 silver at the age of 8. The 2 sisters were directly confused and did not understand anything. Ku Tianzhao reminded them to stop standing there in a daze and quickly get to work. The scene shifted to the Ku family villa in the city where the light flowed. A young man sat cross-legged in meditation, his hands clasped in a seal, and the surrounding light seemed to absorb something, guiding it instantly into his body. A powerful aura radiated from him, and he murmured that he had broken through to the peak of the Mingyuan stage. He was the young master of the Ku family in the city, the older brother of Ku Tianzhao, Ku Jin. The bodyguard beside him was eagerly waiting to celebrate, congratulating him on breaking through to the peak of the Mingyuan stage before his coming-of-age ceremony. He stated that knowing the Ku family could compare with him, the position of the next family head definitely belonged to him. In fact, the bodyguard's words were not wrong. At just 17 years old, he had surpassed his initial awareness to reach foundation stage level 12 of great perfection, then continued to break through the Mingyuan stage lower realm, advancing straight into the peak of the middle realm. Such talent, even in the Mingzhu dynasty where callous experts and geniuses resided, was an achievement to be proud of. However, in the face of this astonishing achievement, the young man in the blue shirt appeared remarkably calm, as if all of this was a matter of course. The corner of his mouth revealed a hint of disdain as he said that it wasn't certain. After all, since the Ku family had split into two branches aside from the Ku family in their city, there was also the Ku family in Tianzhu, which was his uncle's. That time waster from that family was also someone qualified to compete for the inheritance of the Ku family. A messenger pigeon flew in. Ku Jin slowly took out the letter and read it, his face showing displeasure. He didn't expect that time waster to be so lucky and already back in Tianzhu city. The guard beside him immediately chimed in flatteringly that Ku Jin's cousin, Ku Tianzhao, even if he came back, so what? Ku Jin was at the top of the list in the last autumn harvest assessment, and according to the rules of the Ku family, anyone who had no harvest in the autumn assessment for 3 consecutive times was not qualified to inherit the family business. In fact, during the previous last autumn test, Ku Tianzhao had given up and not participated, essentially due to laziness. Ku Jin coldly said that after all, Ku Tianzhao was the glorious Zai Marquis, the only son of Uncle Ku. Uncle and aunt spoiled him excessively. He even divided the family into 2 branches, Tianzhu Ku family and City Ku family, to support him. Although it hadn't reached the point of true division, the intention was too clear. However, the guard was not wrong. He didn't have the ability to overturn heavenly Tao. At this point, Ku Jin slowly stepped out of the door, looking up at the sky. He thought to himself that perhaps this time Ku Tianzhao had finally awakened and thought about running back. It was just a pity that it was too late, far too late. Now the trap had been set, and soon he would discover that after 3 months of the last autumn test, he basically had no place to stand. Even if he were born with a golden key, even if his father had earned nearly 4/10 of the Ku family's wealth, even if he had always been smooth and successful since childhood, so what? The one who laughs last will still be him. In the end, all wealth would have to be handed over to him. He really had to thank Ku Tianzhao, that little loser. Then he seemed to have to find something for him to do. The guard next to him quickly spoke up, ready to take orders. Ku Jin immediately shouted to send the order down and begin using the message scroll to release the secrets they concealed years ago. 3 years ago, before leaving the city, Ku Tianzhao personally promised to help someone's fiancé break off their engagement. This needed to spread throughout the city so that everyone was talking about it, especially ensuring that that useless Qin family brat heard it. The guard took the order and rushed off like the wind. Left alone, Ku Jin smiled mysteriously. That Qin Yun was a useless brat, but the mysterious woman with an unknown background by his side was far from useless. Of course, if they could make the remnants of the expert in the relic black ring of Qin Yun stir a bit, that would be even better. In that case, Ku Tianzhao would end up crippled, if not dead. Ku Jin smiled, his gaze filled with coldness. Yes, Ku Tianzhao. He would make sure everyone knew that everything that belonged to the Ku family would become his. At that moment, in King Kru Tower, Ming Lu was grooming and preparing Lu Ling. The other young ladies also gathered around to give their opinions. Someone commented that an earring didn't match, another criticized the choice of hairpin for its color. A woman behind said to stop making noise and asked if they had finished choosing the treasures for the foundation stage. Lu Ling nervously said that it might not be appropriate to change the place next to Ku Young Master. Ming Lu reassured her, saying not to worry. Even if it showed a little, he wouldn't even steal a glance, even if she were completely undressed. Another young lady agreed, stating that although he liked to wander around King Kru Tower, he had never touched any girl. He just came to chat idly. Basically, all the sisters there had received his grace. Although he was a spendthrift, he was a very good person. Ming Lu whispered to her younger sister, sharing a secret. The sisters in the tower were all betting on who could get his first knight. In the next room, Ku Tianzhao was sitting and checking the system's notifications. The current balance was 775,000 spirit coins. Upon checking, he found that he had a qualified henchman under his command, which met the conditions to receive the beginner gift package. Ku Tianzhao thought to himself that it was great, just as he guessed. He was eager to see what treasures were in this gift package. Ku Tianzhao then opened the beginner gift package. The system announced that he had received a spirit UI cultivation vessel, a level 1 henchman aura, 100 exchange points, and a spring tree resurrection fruit. Ku Tianzhao was very curious, thinking about using the spirit UI cultivation vessel to upgrade his cultivation using wasted money, completing the mission of being a loser and receiving rewards like this. It was somewhat similar to an exchange shop, but unfortunately, the system had not activated this feature yet. Never mind that for now. The spring tree resurrection fruit was a rare fruit that could condense or restore the soul. His cultivation was still only at the foundation stage, far from being able to condense the soul. Using it would be like not using it, so he might as well discard it. Right now, receiving this item from the newbie gift package was indeed strange. He decided to think about the other things later and use the spirit UI cultivation vessel first. The system confirmed his current account balance was 675,000 spirit coins, with one opportunity left to use the vessel. Ku Tianzhao accepted. At his command, he suddenly felt himself submerged in a warm sea. From head to toe, every pore felt indescribably comfortable. It was as if a stream of warm water was flowing from the top of his head, slowly spreading throughout his body. This sensation of relaxation lasted for 3 breaths before it vanished. Ku Tianzhao closed his eyes, carefully sensing the changes within his body. Before long, he opened his eyes and clenched his right fist. A surge of cold, sharp energy appeared around him, chilling like a blade flickering once before disappearing. Ku Tianzhao was astonished, realizing he had reached the peak of Foundation Stage Level 4. Although the Foundation Stage was a basic realm, cultivation still required a lot of time. From Foundation Stage Level 1 to the peak of Level 4, a normal person would need at least several years. Even with high aptitude, it would still take a few months. Yet he only took 3 breaths and spent 675,000 spirit coins to reach the peak of Foundation Stage Level 4. Although according to market prices, over 60,000 spirit coins could normally yield a Foundation Stage Level 4, it seemed a bit of a loss at first glance, but Ku Tianzhao knew that this transaction was actually profitable. This meant that as long as the spending was extravagant enough, it was possible to forge a Dao stage or even a low Saint stage at any time. Ku Tianzhao took a breath and pondered. Although he was a wastrel, he could not empty his pockets before he could earn money. Unfortunately, the current mission was to break off the engagement, not to level up. If he didn't complete the mission, he might die. Though his cultivation could match Qin Yun's at present, it was difficult to guarantee that he wouldn't fall into the traps of Heavenly Dao's reverse fate explosion. Furthermore, Qin Yun not only had the care of Qin Zhaozhao but also the troublesome presence of a mysterious old man. It was said that Qin Zhaozhao had no blood ties to the Qin family, and being able to act as the head of the family must indicate that her intentions were not simple. After Qin Yun was gone, with only Qin Zhaozhao dedicating herself to protection, there must be a conspiracy regarding Qin Yun's destiny. That said, it seemed the old man in the relic black ring also had no good intentions toward Qin Yun. Ku Tianzhao thought for a moment and suddenly his eyes lit up with an idea. Remembering that he had Ma Fengzun in his heart, he began to contemplate various possibilities. At this moment, Meng Lu approached and said that Sir Lu Ling has been prepared. Ku Tianzhao turned to look and was immediately stunned. He asked if she was Lu Ling. In front of him, a young girl adorned with jewelry stepped forward slowly, gently nodding her head. At this moment, Meng Lu Ling was dressed in a bright red outfit, her black hair styled in a celestial bond. A few smooth pearls were casually decorating her, creating delicate openings. Around her neck, she wore a finely crafted pearl necklace that sparkled like stars, highlighting her snow-white skin. The sleeves of her robe were embroidered with light yellow peonies, and her flowing gown had a long hem while her feet were adorned with red shoes accented with yellow butterflies. Witnessing this scene, Even though Ku Tianzhao had lived through 2 lifetimes, he couldn't help but take a deep breath in astonishment. Indeed, good grain thrives on fertilizer. Lu Ling's beauty before could score 80 points, but with this outfit, it must be at least over 85. Lu Ling shyly said that Ku young master, should they leave now? Ku Tianzhao didn't let Lu Ling finish and immediately interrupted, gently patting her head as he said not to call him Ku young master anymore. From now on, she should just call him young master. Lu Ling nodded slightly, agreeing. Ku Tianzhao took Lu Ling's hand and led her out the door, thinking to himself that no matter how high fate may be, it still fears the burning of money. They were going to cancel the engagement. At this moment, throughout Tianzhu City, rumors had spread everywhere that Ku Tianzhao wanted to cancel the engagement for his friend. Everyone was discussing that the prodigal son of the Ku family was bringing Lu Ling to his house to say he wanted to break off the engagement. They laughed, just based on the cultivation of those two, how dare they? At that moment in the Qin family, Ku Tianzhao had brought Lu Ling to request the endowment of the engagement. Qin Changlin, the elder of the Qin family, angrily slammed his teacup and shouted loudly that they wanted to end all the engagement. He called it damned and misjudged Lu Ling, thinking she valued propriety, but now saw her as shameless. She was even bringing someone from the Zhu family for support. Did she think their Qin family had no one? Ku Tianzhao remained calm, sitting there with a fragrant cup of tea in his hand, slowly saying that he knew the Qin family had the old man in charge, but they shouldn't be so quick to flip the table and slam it. Neither the victim nor the acting head of the family had spoken yet. Qin Changlin slammed the table angrily, his spiritual energy erupting, exclaiming that Ku Tianzhao was just a useless prodigal son and yet he dared to speak in his Qin family. At this very moment, a gentle voice floated over, urging Qin Changlin not to be angry. The speaker was Qin Zhaozhao, the acting head of the Qin family. Dressed in seductive attire with a high-slit skirt, revealing her flawlessly smooth, unblemished thighs, she captivated anyone who looked at her. She lightly glided past, her tone cheerful yet tinged with mockery, commenting on Lu Ling's noble attire and the Zhu family's wealth. Then, glancing at the young man sitting across from her, she continued, "No wonder he looked down on their Qin family. This young man with a green aura was the heavenly Tao's son, the prodigy of the Qin family, Qin Yun, possessing the looks of a true male lead." At this moment, he suddenly opened his eyes to look across, flashing a hint of threat. Qin Zhaozhao slowly walked towards the main seat while calmly saying that speaking of breaking off the engagement, the matter of marriage had always been decided by parents through matchmaking. Currently, the head of the family was in the city. Although she represented the head of the family, she did not have the right to make this decision. It would be better to wait for the head of the family. Upon hearing this, Ku Tianzhao's smile gradually faded. He sat down his teacup and stood up. Then he pulled out the marriage contract and slowly said that he thought they misunderstood. Today, he wasn't there to seek their opinions, but to inform them that this marriage contract would now be considered as invalid as Qin Yun. After saying this, Ku Tianzhao tore the entire marriage contract into small pieces, then crumbled the pieces in his hand and with a flick of his wrist, tossed them into the air. The marriage contract now felt like autumn leaves. Lu Ling, with shining eyes, found it hard to breathe for a moment, feeling deeply moved by the sight of Ku Tianzhao tearing up the letter. Qin Yun next to him was also filled with rage, trembling with anger. He had never been humiliated like this before. Unable to contain himself, he crushed his teacup. Qin Zhaozhao, with her beautiful face momentarily covered by a layer of cold mist, said indifferently that young Master Ku was being too overbearing. Qin Changlin stood up angrily, shouting that there was no need for the head to intervene. He would teach this prodigal son a lesson. As he spoke, he condensed his spiritual energy in his hand, ready to launch an attack on Ku Tianzhao. Ku Tianzhao showed no concern, glancing at Qin Yun's expression and thought to himself, wondering how long Qin Yun could hold back. Ku Tianzhao let out a cold laugh and calmly continued, asking what they were all in a hurry for. This was just the beginning. With a clap of his hands, he then asked Wang Wu and Zhao Lu to bring it in. At that moment, two tall and strong guards appeared at the door, carrying a red and gold-studded chest on their shoulders. Looking in that direction, It seemed they had come from the Qin mansion villa. The one in front announced that the young master had collected everything. Qin Changlin's face tensed. He exclaimed in shock that this was it, many years ago, when Qin Yun was exceedingly dazzling. Was this the betrothal gift that the Mu family sent to marry Niu Ming Lu into their family? Ku Tianzhao mockingly laughed, saying that although it had no value to him since they were breaking off the engagement, these things naturally had to be returned. Ku Tianzhao waved his hand to order the two bodyguards to take it away. The two bodyguards clasped their hands to acknowledge the order. At this moment, Qin Zhaozhao shouted that this was outrageous, ordering Qin Changlin to stop them. Qin Changlin nodded, then he concentrated his spiritual energy in his palm and charged fiercely towards the two bodyguards, shouting that with him there, they would see who dared to take it away. Surprisingly, the two bodyguards didn't even move, just stood still and glared. Qin Changlin used all his strength to unleash a palm strike. However, it was as if he struck an invisible barrier. He couldn't even touch a single hair of the two. The two bodyguards smirked, looking at him with scornful contempt. The reason he couldn't hit them was due to the vast difference in cultivation levels. Although they were just bodyguards of Ku Tianzhao, they had already reached the supreme realm of Ming Yuan's stage. The two bodyguards fundamentally did not pay him any attention and directly carried the casket out the door. Ku Tianzhao laughed heartily, asking what was wrong. Were they afraid to intervene now? Well, it was true that both these people of his were at the supreme realm of Ming Yuan's stage. A month's salary was even higher than a year of Qin Yun's, and the experts from the Ku family had gone if the family had Ku Zhaoyong to the city, right? Qin Zhaozhao had a displeased expression, extremely angry inside, thinking to herself that carrying up the marriage contract right in front of the Qin family and on top of that, demanding the betrothal gifts back was really too much. Ku Tianzhao, although she couldn't confront the Ku family right now, the time was still long. Let's see how she handled him. Ku Tianzhao gently held Lu Ling's hand and said that the marriage was over. Now the Qin family was full of cowards. There was nothing enjoyable anymore. Let's go home, he suggested. Lu Ling replied, yes, young master. Just as Ku Tianzhao was leading her away, Qin Yun finally spoke up. He stood up, unleashing a fierce aura and shouted for them to stop. Seeing this, Ku Tianzhao smiled faintly and whispered that very good. Qin Yun finally couldn't hold back anymore. Qin Yun grabbed a piece of silk from Lu Ling's outfit, pulling it back and shouting loudly that Lu Ling was a bitch, not even worthy for him to lift his shoe. What right did she have to flaunt treasures in front of him? Facing the person who had tormented her for so many years, she secretly told herself that Lu Ling must have willpower, not to be afraid of him. The young master had helped her to this extent. She couldn't let the young master lose face. Lu Ling then decisively yanked his jacket back and replied defiantly for him to let go, calling him worthless trash. Someone like him wasn't worthy. Ku Tianzhao praised well said. A worthless person really wasn't worthy. Qin Yun's eyes were filled with anger as he looked straight at the two people in front of him and said that the humiliation they've inflicted on him today, he would return it 100-fold in the future, and to Ku Tianzhao as well, he wouldn't forget him. Ku Tianzhao's eyes narrowed as if looking at the ring on his hand, his expression unchanged, secretly thinking that very good, the ring had lit up, which meant the old man was awake. Then he immediately responded to Qin Yun in a provoking tone, asking what if he remembered. Qin Yun confidently said that today he was very weak, disadvantaged, and he accepted that, but he wanted to advise him on something. The female person was not always stable, it was always subject to change. Don't bully the poor young people. As soon as these words left his mouth, a slight shimmer appeared on his right hand on the ring, and his entire aura changed. A powerful kingly aura radiated as if a raging dragon had emerged, unconsciously bringing immense pressure to everyone present. Qin Zhaozhao witnessed Qin Yun's momentum and felt secretly happy. This momentum was reminiscent of 3 years ago when the destined young man was unstoppable. Qin Changlin also felt a surge of joy within. This momentum was even stronger than 3 years ago, truly the heaven's favorite of the Qi family. Lu Ling felt a hint of fear towards Qin Yun, as she was standing too close to him. Now she was taken aback by the overwhelming aura of dominance that erupted, causing her to panic momentarily. However, thinking of Ku Tianzhao, she calmed herself and reached out to resist. Ku Tianzhao was quite astonished. This was the first time he had witnessed the aura of a protagonist from the novels of his past life. Was this the destiny? A 3-year waste could still emit the regal aura of a sovereign. Well, it was time to unleash a big move. At this moment, Ku Tianzhao's eyes flashed with a cold light. He took out the spring tree resurrection fruit, his face showing unmasked disdain as he laughed and said that if Qin Yun said not to bully the poor young people, then today he would give him a chance to prove himself. This treasure was for him to come and take. At this moment, Qin Yun no longer possessed even a trace of the aura of a Terran. Upon seeing the treasure in Ku Tianzhao's hands, he trembled all over, recognizing it as the spring tree resurrection fruit. Among all the spiritual herbs that could heal the soul, this was the most effective cure. Qin Yun stared at the treasure, thinking to himself that this was an invaluable treasure, not to mention that he wouldn't be able to buy it in his lifetime. Even if he could, it was extremely rare on the market and basically unattainable. Yes, Ku Tianzhao had taken it out so easily and even said he wanted to give it to him. At that moment, the mysterious old man in the black ring relic awakened, appearing excited and screaming wildly that it was truly the spring tree resurrection fruit. Heaven truly helped him. The old man urged the young man to quickly take it, saying after consumption and refinement, that item would be very beneficial to him. Hurry, hurry. Ku Tianzhao observed and smiled to himself, thinking about Qin Yun. If things went according to Qin Yun's script, he would refuse the treasure from the villain and display his grandeur before Qin Zhaozhao. Then that night, Qin Zhaozhao would fall into his arms. Unfortunately, the script had now changed. The villain had offered an irresistible price. He wondered how Qin Yun would deal with this. Ku Tianzhao thought for a moment and then spoke up that he had realized it, so Qin Yun should not hesitate any longer. Just start. Qin Yun was confused. Start? Start what? Ku Tianzhao held the spring tree resurrection fruit in front of him and said that he should start proving it, of course. Didn't he say not to bully the poor young people? By his logic, he definitely wouldn't be poor in the future. If so, then he should go ahead and destroy this spring tree resurrection fruit for him to see. At that moment, the old man was also anxiously urging Qin Yun not to listen to that brat's nonsense but to quickly take the spring tree resurrection fruit. Hurry up. Qin Yun was immediately caught between the two sides, his mind blank and unable to think of anything. He didn't really expect Ku Tianzhao to make such a challenge. Now, it didn't matter what choice he made. Therefore, Qin Yun was very hesitant. Ku Tianzhao said again, asking what was the matter. Didn't he want to destroy it? Didn't he say not to bully the poor young people? Haha, what was this not to bully the poor young people? He really only knew how to boast. In a short period, Qin Yun was in a state of turmoil. Thoughts were continuously struggling in his mind. As long as he ate this fruit, he could immediately return to the peak of his destiny. No, Qin Yun, was a man. How could he endure the humiliation from this prodigal son any longer? The old man in the relic black ring continued, urging Qin Yun to accept the fruit, saying a man could bend and stretch. What was this little humiliation worth? As long as he restored his divine soul and taught him a few moves, don't say killing him was as easy as killing a dog. Even the Ku family would just be a name. Qin Yun was furious. His consciousness roared for the old man to shut up. He was not the one enduring this humiliation, so of course, it didn't matter to him. But what about his dignity? What about his pride? Accepting this condescension, what would he become? A laughing stock. The old man shouted angrily, calling Qin Yun a scoundrel, a rude brat, asking if he was trying to cause trouble. He commanded him. Qin Yun's eyes were wild, his hands tightly holding his head as he screamed in agony. Then he covered his face and shouted loudly for him to stop talking. Lu Ling was extremely surprised. Qin Yun was terrifyingly strong just a moment ago. Yet in the blink of an eye, he had collapsed. The young master was truly remarkable. Ku Tianzhao coldly laughs that this was really boring. If he didn't dare, then let him. Ku Tianzhao coldly threw the spring tree resurrection fruit onto the floor. Qin Yun saw it and rushed over in panic to pick it up, yelling for him not to do it. He saw that Ku Tianzhao's foot was poised to stomp down, ready to crush it. Qin Yun felt his heart sink upon seeing this, his entire body trembling as he dared not move. Ku Tianzhao, with a proud and cold expression, said to look closely. The thing he was fighting over was worthless to him, the young master. Then he stamped down hard, crushing a priceless spring tree resurrection fruit right before Qin Yun's eyes without any hesitation. Qin Yun was so angry that he erupted with rage, along with a mix of conflicting negative emotions, and suddenly dark thoughts arose. He let out a grunt and spat a mouthful of red blood, then fell to the ground. At this moment, Qin Yun's eyes were vacant, his soul damaged, looking no different from a fool. He was still mumbling, "No, don't." Qin Zhaozhao had a worried expression, hurriedly speaking for her brother to please not continue. Ku Tianzhao was very pleased. Very good. Just now, Qin Zhaozhao's expression was one of disappointment. He thought, fortunately, he didn't directly use the spring tree resurrection fruit to fight Qin Yun, but instead used it to sow discord among them. Otherwise, with Qin Yun being the destined son, and the Qin family united against external threats, even if he were lucky enough to defeat Qin Yun, at a crucial moment, he would escape. At that time, he could randomly jump off the cliff to pick up treasures, find a secret place, secretly watch beautiful women bathe, mess around for a while, and then reappear, continuously leveling up. But now, the old man was heartbroken, Qin Zhaozhao was disappointed, and Qin Yun was tormented by his inner demons. What could be more damaging to destiny than this? Wait, there was one last move, the ultimate humiliation. Ku Tianzhao turned to Lu Ling and said that the humiliations she once endured could be repaid now. Lu Ling eagerly replied that she thanked him, the young master. After saying this, she stepped closer right next to Qin Yun, firmly stating that Qin Yun had turned her from a wife into a concubine. Did he ever think this day would come? He tortured her with needles and oil. Did he ever think this day would come? He sold her to the 19th prince. Did he ever think this day would come? After each statement, Lu Ling slapped him again. It truly was a relief. At that moment, Qin Yun seemed to have lost consciousness, unable to retort a word, only able to mumble and groan, tears and drool flowing extensively. Qin Zhaozhao anxiously rushed over, stopping her hands, calling for her little brother and assuring him that she was there. Qin Zhaozhao held Qin Yun in her arms, checking his injuries. Qin Zhaozhao showed a look of disappointment, thinking to herself about the proud young man of the past, how he had fallen to this extent. At the same time, the system announced the collision of ice and fire. Don't bully the poor young people. The mission progress. The destined son of the hard demon had been completed. Grandfather was alienated. The queen was disappointed. The cohesion of the destiny lineup had dropped by 2 levels, and luck had dropped by 1 level. Comprehensive evaluation. The host had successfully inflicted 150 points of damage on the useless loser son of destiny, Qin Yun. Mission rewards included 1 chance to withdraw gold, 1 chance for the spirit cultivation vessel, receiving 500 exchange points, authority of the infinite celestial treasury, opening 100% of all, reducing the exchange price by 7%, and opening hidden items by 5%. Mission evaluation stated that the host noticed and avoided the murder behind the scenes and successfully defeated the Prince Charming by spending money. He was worthy of the title of the world's #1 soldier. After hearing the continuous sounds of the system, Ku Tianzhao smiled and sighed, finally done. While Ku Tianzhao was reading the mission announcement, Qin Zhaozhao finished her investigation and found that Qin Yun was just angry and spitting blood. His life was not at risk. At this moment, she breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. After that, her demeanor returned to confidence, staring coldly at Ku Tianzhao and saying that young Master Ku was really a generous person. Such a rare spring tree resurrection fruit to trample it like this truly opened everyone's eyes. Using such a high price to insult others, he must have enjoyed it before, but he would definitely regret it later. Ku Tianzhao would frown and laugh loudly, saying that they found it strange because they were just poor. He had plenty of these, he just stepped on them for fun. Qin Yun couldn't help but feel angrier. He glanced at the ring on his hand and, after confirming it was still there, secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Then he fixed his gaze sharply on Ku Tianzhao. At the same time, His tone became extremely angry. As he rushed forward, he yelled loudly that he would kill him. He had to kill him. Seeing this, Lu Ling seemed to be infused with courage. She decisively drew her sword and pointed it directly at Qin Yun's face. But this time, as soon as she made her move, Qin Yun was stunned, yelling loudly at her, but internally, he was extremely shocked. How could it be? Her speed in drawing the sword was faster than before. Too much. Could it be that this bitch had been training hard? Ku Tianzhao stood behind and observed everything. With the blessing of the lackey Yahello, Lu Ling's cultivation also increased significantly. Lu Ling took a deep breath, her tone steady and decisive as she said that Qin Yun should make a bet for a period of 3 months during the last autumn test. They would determine the winner and the loser. If she lost, she would apologize and destroy her cultivation. However, if he lost, he would give her the black ring on his hand. Did he dare to bet? At this moment, Qin Yun became even more enraged, an aura of darkness radiating from his entire body. He coldly snorted that she thought just because he'd lost all his talent, she could act so arrogantly. Fine, he accepted. Ku Tianzhao looked towards Qin Zhaozhao and saw that her brows were slightly furrowed, her gaze fixed on Qin Yun. She seemed to feel that his reaction was truly excessive. But at this moment, Qin Yun was being faced with the bitch he had previously looked down upon, pointing a sword at him and humiliating him to the point of bleeding. There was no room left for reason. Looking at Qin Yun's figure, she felt a whirlwind of emotions inside. In an instant, she recalled the aggressive teenager from 3 years ago and a trace of sympathy arose in her heart as she sighed softly that Qin Yun had endured humiliation. His behavior was, sigh, let it be as he wishes. Then she decisively spoke up that if he was unwilling, then they should gamble. Lu Ling turned and left resolutely. Ku Tianzhao followed her, looking at her with a faint smile, saying that Lu Ling, silly girl, was doing this to help him regain his honor. Although blessed by the blessing of the lackey Yahello, she feared she underestimated the difficulty of confronting the Son of Destiny. At that moment, the system announced that the long-term mainline mission continued. I have used my true destiny thousands of times, the prodigal son of destiny. Mission 2 was, the madman who protects his own shortcomings and the prodigal son reverses the march agreement. Mission description stated that during last autumn's test, he must assist Mu Binglu in defeating the Son of Destiny, Qin Yun, and during the competition, the host must not take action, just return the result, no explanation needed, nothing else. Completion reward was unclear, failure penalty was immediate deletion of the host. Get 1. Calculating normally after 3 months, Lu Ling could at most reach the foundation stage 9th level while Qin Yun would reach the peak of Ming Yun's stage. The two sides had a gap of 9 small realms. Hit 2. No one could surpass the realm of defeating the Son of Destiny unless the prodigal was the strongest weapon of the prodigal. Hit 3. Due to the difficulty of this mission, the system would issue a supporting mission. The host may choose not to accept the supporting mission. Ku Tianzhao was silently sighed, thinking that Lu Ling reaching the foundation stage 9th level in 3 months was already considered a genius. He never expected Qin Yun to be so extraordinary. The useless guy was indeed the vanguard of the true prince, and he had messed him up so badly that he could actually lead to a strong counterattack. Just give the result, no explanation needed, nothing else. Seeing Ku Tianzhao deep in thought, Lu Ling spoke up, asking what was wrong with Ku Tianzhao. Ku Tianzhao then asked her if he told her that last year's audit exam, Qin Yun would take a leap in advance to the peak of the Ming Yuan stage, would she be afraid? Lu Ling pondered for a moment and then said that although it sounded hard to believe, she was not afraid because the young master had made her realize one thing today. The more she feared him, the more he would trample her underfoot. Ku Tianzhao nodded in satisfaction, agreeing that Lu Ling was not wrong. They were not afraid of him. With their young master there, no matter what, they would ensure her victory. Ku Tianzhao then read the hints for the side mission. The side mission was titled, Comprehensive Suppression, Destroy Opportunities. Mission description stated that they must suppress the useless Qin Yun ahead of schedule so that he only reaches the middle of the Ming Yuan stage in 3 months. Reward for completion was unclear. Failure penalty would deduct 1 million from the amount of money lost, and if failed, kill the host directly. The current amount of money lost was 0. Hit 1. Grandfather credibility was related to absorption of equipment. If they could completely suppress the related industries of the Qin family and cut off his resources, it would have miraculous effects. Hit 2. The upcoming autumn banquet would be a wonderful stage for the Son of Destiny to shine. If he could dominate the gathering at the autumn banquet, there would be surprises. Ku Tianzhao thought to himself that these two suggestions were clearly the starting steps, and the initial phase of soaring was often seen in those destined for greatness. These two stages were when a destined person was at their strongest. Once suppressed, it would definitely have a deep impact on his future development, especially at the autumn banquet. The banquet was not only a gathering of the nobility but also attended by princes and princesses. This was directly related to the selection of candidates for the last autumn test. It had always been a place where young talents fiercely competed. The champions of previous last autumn tests had also been outstanding performers at the autumn banquet. At that time, if Qin Yun shone at the autumn banquet, igniting the momentum of the sovereign, he would attract the attention of the nobility. He might even be rewarded with wealth by a prince, and a princess might offer him resources. Thinking of this, Ku Tianzhao couldn't help but laugh excitedly. That was great. Then he took Lu Ling's hand and pulled her along, saying, "Let's go, Lu Ling, follow him home." Lu Ling was bewildered, asking, "Huh? That home?" Ku Tianzhao replied, "That's right. If you want to spend money, you first need to go home and recharge." At that moment, in front of Zai Mansion, many onlookers had gathered to discuss, questioning what was going on. Hadn't the young master been missing for 3 years? They thought he was dead out there. Others hushed them, saying not to say such things. That was the young master of Zai Marquis. Did they want to get themselves killed? Some remarked that he was just a useless spendthrift, while others shared stories of his extravagant behavior in a brothel, calling for 2 people. One to serve and one just to look at. Only he could come up with such a way to play. They really didn't know how the glorious fortune of the Zai Marquis could be squandered by that young master in just a few years. Among the crowd, some cheered while others laughed. This treatment was indeed contradictory, but no matter what others said, Ku Tianzhao didn't care and pulled Lu Ling into the mansion. The servants inside stared wide-eyed in shock, rushing to tell Madam that the young master had returned. Right after that, they continued with sounds of alert echoing throughout the mansion. "Madam, the young master had returned." Just a minute later, a gentle voice suddenly came from inside. Next, a graceful and elegant middle-aged woman hurriedly ran out, exuding an air of nobility. Ignoring her delicate figure and small waist, she rushed straight towards Ku Tianzhao. Regardless of the female servants who were flustered, trying to keep up with her, this middle-aged woman was the mother of Ku Tianzhao. As she ran, she anxiously called out joyfully that her little Xiao had come back to visit his mom. Suddenly being embraced, Ku Tianzhao felt a bit awkward. Even though after the soul merging, she was indeed his biological mother, in front of everyone, he always felt somewhat embarrassed and hurriedly struggled, saying, "Mom, I'm grown up now. We're in public. Please don't." As soon as the words finished, Ku Chaoshi quickly took out a silk handkerchief, raised it to her face to wipe the tears at the corners of her eyes, and sobbed that her little Xiao had grown up, no longer liked Mom. Ku Tianzhao felt even more embarrassed and said that Mom shouldn't pretend to be an 18-year-old girl. So many people were watching. As soon as Ku Tianzhao finished speaking, he saw his mother retract the handkerchief. The speed at which she changed her expression was faster than flipping a page in a book. She quickly linked arms with her son and went inside. She agreed to listen to her little Xiao while walking, but suddenly remembered something, asking why the daughter of the Mu family was following him. Before Ku Tianzhao could introduce, Lu Ling stepped forward to pay her respects, explaining that she had severed ties with the Mu family due to the engagement with the Qin family. She pleaded for pity as she had just been freed from the engagement and now only wanted to follow the young master wholeheartedly. Ku Chaoshi looked at her son with a meaningful gaze. Ku Tianzhao wondered why his mom was looking at him like that. Ku Chaoshi turned around, glanced at Lu Ling's figure, then gently nodded in satisfaction and said it was good to see. A full chest meant young grandchildren, and little Xiao wouldn't have to worry about hunger in the future. With these wide hips, it was all good news. She told them not to just stand there but to talk as they walked. Hearing these words, Lu Ling felt a bit shy but was also happy inside. The next moment, Ku Chaoshi took out a stack of crystal cards, spread them out like a fan, handed them to Ku Tianzhao, and said that poor mom had lost weight over the past 3 years. He must have endured a lot of hardships, right? These were the crystal cards she'd saved for him, just a little pocket money. She knew how he was, so she specially divided the money into multiple cards so he could easily use them to throw in other people's faces. Wasn't she very thoughtful? Ku Tianzhao received them and smiled in response, saying he really had to thank mom a lot. He just needed to know the total amount. Ku Chaoshi said it wasn't much, just 1,200,000 spirit coins. Little Xiao should use it for 2 days, and when it was gone, she would give him more. As these words were spoken, Ku Tianzhao still had no particularly special reaction. Onlookers around were wide-eyed. What? 1,200,000 for pocket money? Now they understood why the young master became a prodigal son. 1,200,000, they would never see such money in their lifetime. And he called that pocket money? With this amount of spirit coins, even a little pig could cultivate into a cultivator. Was slashing cards in front of others really something to be proud of? Life was unfair. Why did they have a mother like that? Few people also wished for the same. Ku Tianzhao held a few cards and said that it was true that it wasn't much, but saving a little to squander should be enough. But mom, this time he wanted to go big. This money might be gone by tomorrow, so she should be mentally prepared. After saying this, the people in the courtyard felt their chests tighten. Countless people wished they could immediately rip this person apart, and many others wished they could push Ku Tianzhao aside and take their place. They were so furious that they collectively spat blood, their minds went crazy, and they all collapsed on the ground. Was this what he called saving to squander? Saving was gone by tomorrow? Damn it. They didn't want to live anymore. The 3 of them walked inside. Ku Chaoshi asked curiously if little Xiao was planning to do something big, expressing her admiration for him to spend his money freely since she had plenty. Ku Tianzhao replied that was right, Mom. This time he was planning to make a big move and invest in land. Ku Chaoshi smiled softly, saying that was wonderful, and she hadn't played for a long time either. As they walked in, Ku Tianzhao puzzledly asked his mom why it was just her at home when he came back. Where was Dad? Ku Chaoshi answered that his dad had gone to the city and probably wouldn't be back for another month or 2. Ku Tianzhao expressed doubt, noting that now was not the time for court meetings. His dad had gone to the city. Those old men from the Ku family must be up to something again. Just return the result, no explanation needed. Ku Chaoshi gently stroked her son's hair while saying tenderly that it wasn't about his desire to break off the engagement with the Qin family. It wasn't a big deal. His father could handle it, but it was quite amusing that they just heard the rumor about the broken engagement, and unexpectedly, he had already broken it off. In other words, breaking off the engagement first, the rumor later, it just felt odd. Ku Tianzhao smiled proudly, saying, yes, indeed. The opposing forces did not want to let him go. Fortunately, he acted early, turning the rumors into a joke. Huh. Ku Jin must be so angry he's fuming. Ku Jin was clearly a member of the Ku family, but Ku Tianzhao directly addressed him by name with not a hint of respect in his words. What was even stranger was that Chao Shi did not show any anger regarding this. She just had a slightly reproving tone, saying that little Xiao did very well but thinking like this wasn't cute at all. Wasn't he the one who said he wanted to play the coin toss game for localization with her? She urged him to come quickly as she couldn't wait any longer. Saying this, she turned to the servant and ordered, Xiao Ying, to quickly bring out the map of Tianzhu City. The maid nodded obediently and immediately brought the map of Tianzhu City to the table. Lu Ling took a curious glance and was secretly amazed. This map was so detailed. The industries, the land, everything was there. What were these dots and lines? What did tossing a coin for localization mean? While Lu Ling was still pondering, Xiao Shi held up a gold coin high and said that she would go first. Then she let the coin drop freely onto the map below. The coin fell and rolled into a small circle. Xiao Shi looked slightly disappointed, wondering why it landed back on their own land again. Ku Tianzhao also sighed, saying that mom's luck was really bad. If she kept doing this, how would they buy new land? At that moment, Lu Ling finally understood. So tossing a coin for localization meant that wherever the coin lands is where they would buy land. Those dots and lines represented the industries of the Ku family. Oh my, finally, she understood the wasteful reasoning of the young master. Ku Tianzhao turned to Lu Ling with the coin and said it was her turn now. Lu Ling was flustered and hurriedly waved her hands, saying no, that this matter was of great importance and she couldn't. Inside, she was also astonished, telling herself that a piece of land the size of a coin must be at least 100 ning. She was just a little girl. How could she dare to do that? Ku Tianzhao placed the coin in Lu Ling's hand and said this was an order. Xiao Shi also agreed, saying that's right, that now she was one of them. If little Xiao was telling her to do it, then she should just go ahead and give it a try, it would be fun. Lu Ling held the coin in her hand, feeling the weight on her shoulders. But she still mustered the courage to say that all right, if the young master had given an order, then she would be bold. With that, Lu Ling tossed the coin onto the map. However, this time, the coin seemed to spin around and refused to settle down. Lu Ling panicked, asking if this area was all wasteland and if she should toss it again. Suddenly, at that moment, Ku Tianzhao slammed his hand on the coin and exclaimed loudly that what he needed was wasteland. This coin was spinning too slowly, so wherever his hand covered, he would buy it all. Lu Ling, astonished, covered her mouth and whispered that, oh my. A single clap from the young master meant the land acquisition range had increased many times, at least 1 acre. If it were an ordinary area, it wouldn't be a problem, but this was rare and valuable wasteland. It was called wasteland because it was the place where the spiritual energy of heaven and earth converged the most in Shenzhou. Due to the accumulation of violent spiritual energy, plants couldn't grow, making it look desolate. But it was actually a wonderful place to refine elixirs, talismans, and treasures, especially for refining tools. Typically, small wasteland wasn't worth much, but the larger it was, the more valuable it became. As the area of wasteland increased, land prices commonly rose exponentially. Lu Ling anxiously said that with this one clap of his, it must be at least 1 million spirit coins to negotiate. Ku Tianzhao laughed, saying that's why he told his mother that this small amount of money would be gone today. Xiao Shi didn't complain, just asked what he was going to do with such a large piece of land. She remembered that little Xiao wasn't interested in refining treasures. Hearing this, Ku Tianzhao fell silent for a moment, then noticed the jewelry Xiao Shi was wearing in her ears, raised his hand to check, and said he bought it to refine jewelry. Look at this, such a large piece of land, such a large scale, it definitely produced a lot of good jewelry, right? Once the products were finished, all the girls in Tianzhu City would get a share, big or small. No matter who he met, he'd give them a pair, wasn't it wonderful? As soon as these words were spoken, apart from the mother and son, everyone else in the yard was shocked, spitting blood. 1 million spirit coins, buying such a large wasteland, not to refine treasures, talismans, or elixirs, but just to refine jewelry. They thought the 1 million spirit coins spent earlier were already a peak of wastefulness. The 2 maids behind also gasped in amazement. They had seen a lot of grand wasteful scenes, especially when thrown coins for localization, but they had never seen a scene like this before. Xiao Shi happily said that, oh, did little Xiao mean to make jewelry for her? How considerate. A moment later, Xiao's eyes' expression changed, but this piece of wasteland seemed to be under negotiation by the Qin family, right? Ku Tianzhao said with interest that, huh, really? Then they must buy it. Recalling the system's earlier hint, the inheritance of the old man in the relic black ring was related to refined tools. If they could completely suppress the Qin family's related industries and cut off their resources, it would be very effective. As the system suggested, indeed, as he guessed, the Kai family would definitely buy the wasteland to refine divine weapons for Qin Yun's cultivation. So as long as he was willing to invest and compete for the wasteland resources with them, he could hit Qin Yun hard at the starting point. Xiao Shi hesitantly said that she understood little Xiao's intention, but she heard that the Kai family had already made a deposit, and the contract was about to be delivered. Was it possible to intervene now? Ku Tianzhao said with a faint smile that, as long as the methods were clever, there was nothing that couldn't be obtained. Xiao Shi nodded and said they should listen to little Xiao. As for the negotiators, their family had sent many talented people this time. Now in the mansion, there was only one manager left, Xu Da. This person was not exceptional, just passable. Ku Tianzhao then said that Mom didn't have to worry, wasn't the best person right here. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was puzzled and unsure, only to see Ku Tianzhao turn to Lu Ling. Casually, he tossed out 2 crystal cards. Xiao Shi clapped her hands happily, saying Lu Ling, if little Xiao said so, then it was settled. Ku Tianzhao handed Lu Ling the 2 crystal cards and said he gave her full authority to handle this matter. Lu Ling nodded and replied that she would get started right away. Just as she was about to leave, Ku Tianzhao called her back and tossed her a book, saying to wait. Lu Ling, take this book with her for entertainment on the way. Lu Ling took the book and began to read through it, exclaiming in surprise at what it was. Shifting the scene to another place in the Qin family villa, Qin Yun was still engrossed in practicing swordsmanship. His mind was profoundly focused as if he had become one with the sword. Moreover, the sword intent was incredibly strong, and his movements were fluid and practiced. Qin Zhaozhao said happily that congratulations were in order. In just a short time, he had returned to the peak of the 2nd level of the foundation stage. Upon hearing this, Qin Yun revealed a slight smile and, with a heroic demeanor, said that it was just a trial. Sister, he had restored his talent. Returning to the 2nd level of the foundation stage was naturally an easy feat. The congratulations could wait until he broke through to the Mingyuan stage. Qin Zhaozhao gracefully sat on a chair and calmly said that, so he really had confidence in returning to the Mingyuan stage within 3 months. Qin Yun chuckled that at first, it seemed impossible, thanks to that woman. If it weren't for her unexpected arrival, causing his mind to waver, he wouldn't have the will and determination he had now. Thanks to her, he would definitely return to the Mingyuan stage within 3 months. Plus, with the opportunity to train with treasures, elixirs from the wasteland, and much more. And that woman? Well, cultivating for 10 years only to reach the 5th level of the foundation stage was quite ordinary. In 3 months, no matter how hard she tried, she'd only reach the 7th or 8th level of the foundation stage. How could she possibly compete with him? Qin Yun angrily shouted that 3 months, at most just 3 months, he would avenge this humiliation. He wanted her to never be able to lift her head again. As for that bastard, one day when he succeeded, he would definitely kill his whole family. Qin Zhaozhao frowned slightly, then gently shook her head and sighed, thinking that even though saying it was unreasonable to return to the Mingyuan stage in 3 months, looking at his current momentum and speed, it wasn't impossible. It really did seem that he had the heavenly mandate. She still needed to support him as much as she could. A moment later, Qin Zhaozhao changed back to a gentle expression, saying yes, she naturally believed in his talent. 3 months from now, Lu Ling would just be a stepping stone for him. Qin Yun also responded that of course, in order to progress in the next 3 months, he also needed her to help him with the wilderness. Before the words were finished, suddenly a panicked servant rushed in from outside, holding a roll of paper in hand, saying that it wasn't good. The Ku family had targeted the vacant land they were negotiating. As soon as these words were spoken, both Qin Yun and Qin Zhaozhao looked at each other in surprise. At the Ku family, at this moment, Ku Tianzhao was very pleased. After successfully seizing the vacant land, he stabbed a small dagger into the map, right at the location of that land. He thought to himself, Qin Yun, you want to buy the vacant land to cultivate high-quality treasures and elixirs. Look how he used money to cut off the source of the trouble. After hearing the news that the Ku family intended to seize the vacant lot he was purchasing, Qin Yun was extremely angry. He clenched his fists tightly and his eyes shot out sparks of hatred. He thought to himself that it was damned. Right at this piece of land in the middle, they needed it to connect these 2 important plots. Without it, They couldn't form one large piece. It would be difficult to refine the treasure of the Mingyuan realm and the second-grade superior elixir. Qin Zhaozhao squinted, her tone anxious. Moreover, this vacant land was the most important task assigned by the family head before leaving. If this failed, then her so-called acting head of the family would probably come to an end here. Qin Yun gritted his teeth and said in resentment that he didn't expect that the prodigal son would have such cunning and ruthless tactics. Qin Zhaozhao fell silent for a moment, then suspiciously said that logically speaking, the prodigal son should only know how to destroy. He shouldn't be able to think of such a clever scheme. She then asked the servant, Shang Yun, if he knew who the Ku family sent and why they wanted to seize this piece of land. The servant replied that reporting to the acting head, it was Ku Tianzhao who wanted to seize it. However, he was playing a coin-tossing game to decide, and by chance, he landed on this piece of land, then came up with the idea of buying it to refine jewelry. Qin Yun, upon hearing this, sneered in contempt. Tossing a coin to determine the location? Wasn't that just random? He planned to use that plot of land to refine jewelry? That was ridiculous. Humph, what a carp trick. It turned out to be just a game that ruins the family, just a coincidence. At this moment, Qin Zhaozhao also sighed in relief and smiled slightly. Haha, if it weren't intentional, then the threat to them would be much smaller. The Yai family had promised to sell them these 3 pieces of wasteland, and the deposit had already been paid. If they breached the contract, the Yai family would not only have to compensate for the damages but would also completely offend the Qin family. It wasn't worth doing that. Qin Yun laughed coldly, feeling excited. Yes, sister was right. Even if that prodigal son threw money to make the Yai family waver, at most, they just needed to raise the price a bit. The Yai family just needed to weigh the pros and cons, and they would definitely see the benefits and stop. Qin Zhaozhao asked Zhang Yun if he knew who the Ku family sent to negotiate. The servant replied, yes, acting head, the person sent to negotiate was Lu Ling. Upon hearing this, Qin Yun burst into laughter. Haha, that bitch was going to negotiate. What a joke. What did she know about business negotiations? Qin Zhaozhao nodded and clicked her tongue. Yeah, that's right. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have worried. At the Ku family, the steward named Xu Ming had just been called in. He had been in the household for many years and had worked his way up to the position of steward, almost entirely responsible for the Ku family's external affairs and transactions. Today, he was called in, but his expression showed discomfort. He walked while subtly cursing in his heart that damn it. The Ku family had always relied on him for negotiations, which was how he got a chance to earn some profit. But that young master prodigal son just returned, and he bypassed him for a business deal worth millions of spirit coins, sending a lackey to negotiate instead. It was simply unreasonable. Humph, this land was initiated by the Qin family, and even he might have a hard time acquiring it, let alone a girl who only knew how to cling to a prodigal. He wanted to see what happened when she returned defeated. He wondered how that prodigal son would grovel and beg him. He was very angry inside, but on the outside, he remained soft-spoken. He politely handed over the scroll to Ku Tianzhao, saying that young master, this was the list of 20 weapon refiners that he borrowed from Ma'am. Please take a look. Ku Tianzhao ignored his gaze and slowly savored his high-quality tea, then replied coldly that well, this was a matter of great importance to his family. He had to take a closer look at who they were. The steward was furious, frowning as he thought he was pretending. He kept saying it was borrowing weapon refiners, but he bet he wouldn't even be able to buy the land soon enough, let alone step down. Not long after, Lu Ling walked in through the door, holding an abacus in hand. Seeing a stranger in front of him, Lu Ling paused for a second, but quickly remembered what Ku Tianzhao had said earlier. Lu Ling then clasped his hands politely and said that this person was the steward of the Ku family, right? She had heard of him for a long time. The steward looked at Lu Ling with a disdainful gaze, curled his lip, and said that huff, she was not worthy to say she had heard of him for a long time. After all, the young master dared to entrust a business deal worth 1 million silver to her, which was enough to show that the young master valued her. It was just that he saw she did not have a storage ring in hand, nor any contract documents. Would she disappoint the young master's expectations? Ku Tianzhao smiled and interjected that Lu Ling had been gone for so long. Had she resolved everything? Lu Ling replied, reporting to the young master. Luckily she had not let down his expectations. As soon as these words were spoken, Manager Chu couldn't help but let out a cold sneer. Haha, truly shameless. Clearly, there were no results yet. She dared to say she was lucky not to disappoint expectations. Huff. Could it be that she had managed to obtain an opportunity for this old man to negotiate again, and that counted as not disappointing expectations? Ku Tianzhao turned to blow straight into the steward's face, pretending to blow on tea. Bah, too hot to handle. Lu Ling continued. Lu Ling nodded and said that as Steward Chu said, she really did not bring back the land deed, but that was because the terms of the transaction had changed. Lu Ling walked over to the map, pointing at the wasteland, and explained that initially, the young master instructed her to buy this 1 mu of wasteland, and made it clear that only the price could go up, not down. Consider it a waste of money. The young master provided 1,500,000 spirit coins, and the price she negotiated was 1,500,000. As soon as Lu Ling finished speaking, the steward couldn't help but laugh loudly. Ha ha ha. Was that all? This piece of land at 1,200,000 was already an outrageous price. She offered 1,500,000 and still didn't have the land deed, and she was proud of that. Today, he had broadened his horizons. He purposely spoke loud enough for the workers outside, who were eavesdropping, to hear. Upon hearing this, they began to discuss, saying, alas, a little girl surely couldn't be trusted. What was this trust in the servant of a prodigal son? She was negotiating the lowest price, and still didn't have the land deed. It was truly laughable. It was indeed the eye of a prodigal. Ku Tianzhao and Xiaola frowned slightly. Manager Q, don't be hasty. Lu Ling hadn't finished speaking yet. Hearing this, Manager Q smirked and said mockingly, oh, Miss Mu, please continue. If there were any more jokes, let's hear them. Lu Ling then took a brush and drew 2 circles around the map, which seemed to cover an area about twice as large as before. After finishing the drawing, Lu Ling said that 1,500,000 not only bought the piece of wasteland requested by the young master, it also included 2 adjacent pieces of wasteland. The total was roughly 2 7/10 acres. The reason they hadn't secured the land contract yet was due to the importance of the matter, leaving the decision to the young master. The seller was Mr. Yi, who was currently waiting in the accounting room. If the young master agreed, just say the word, and the contract would be presented immediately. Everything could be settled. It's not like some people mistakenly believed that this was just a dream. Just after finishing his sentence, Manager Q's first reaction was absolute disbelief. But looking at Lu Ling's confident expression, which did not seem like a lie, he was stunned and exclaimed, how? How could this be? Ku Tianzhao was very pleased and nodded at Lu Ling, saying she exceeded expectations. Lu Ling, he truly did not misjudge her. He was very satisfied, and they could sign right now. Lu Ling responded lightly, yes, young master. Lu Ling thanked him for the trust and training. Manager Q still did not believe it. He rushed over, slammed the map, and questioned loudly, wait, not to mention the land in the middle. The Qin family had already placed deposits on the 2 adjacent plots and had confirmed the sale to them. How could the Yi family dare to breach the contract, offend the Qin family, and sell to them at such a low price? Lu Ling smiled, raised the abacus high, and confidently explained that this was very simple because the Qin family was paying in installments over 3 months while they could pay immediately. Manager Q still wondered, even if the Qin family was paying in installments, the price was still unreasonable. Was Mr. Yi in urgent need of money? And if that was the case, shouldn't the deposit from the Qin family be enough to support him? Lu Ling tapped the abacus and continued to speak. At first, Mr. Yi was really reluctant, so she had Mr. Yi forget about a debt. The Yi family's assets included 3 taverns and 2 iron workshops, which were not small in scale. The taverns operated normally with daily profits of no more than 3,000 spirit coins. However, if they immediately invested 200,000, they could open Wangke Road, which could at least double the business. The iron shop produced 100,000 refined iron daily, estimated to be worth 20,000 spirit coins. However, the products from here didn't have many treasures, like the Crimson Dragon Sword, which could only sell for about 3 to 400,000, yielding low profits that barely covered the losses. But if they invested 1 million spirit coins to purchase meteorites from the Qinshi Empire, they could do some calculations. Comparing waiting 3 months to complete the loan with receiving money immediately and investing and expanding the business, they would earn a significantly greater profit after 3 months. Initially, the profit would be no more than 200,000 spirit coins. Afterward, it would be at least 1.07 million spirit coins. If they factored in the autumn exam, the profit would need to double. If it were him, what would he choose? Lu Ling spoke faster and faster, continuously throwing out numbers and began calculating with great precision. At first, everyone could understand a little, but as time went on, even Manager Ku had to admit a frightening truth. Although he had worked with numbers for decades, he could not keep up with Lu Ling's mental calculations at all. He was so shocked that he was speechless, terrified to the point of collapsing to the ground, one hand gripping his shirt in an attempt to steady his heartbeat, exclaiming who exactly she was. How could the Mu family have someone like her? Lu Ling replied with a faint smile that, as he said, she was just the footman of the young master. At this moment, Ku Tianzhao smiled to himself and thought, perhaps he knew. Lu Ling had loved mathematics since childhood, but was suppressed by the family and always unable to showcase her innate talent. Moreover, with the celestial mathematical tone that he exchanged from the system, Lu Ling had become invincible. Ku Tianzhao took Lu Ling's hand and raised it as if announcing the winner while declaring loudly that he declared that from today, Lu Ling was the steward candidate of Zi Mansion. Manager Ku was extremely angry upon seeing this. He thought to himself. Manager Ku thought to himself that well done, both hands and the prodigal son. How dare they humiliate him like this today? He shouldn't blame him for looking for a new master. But little did he know that Ku Tianzhao had seen through his thoughts. He just smirked and sneered to himself that this kind of rat was best suited to be put into a snake's den. At the Qin family villa at this moment, crash, a teacup was thrown down to the ground, hot tea splattering everywhere, just like Qin Yun's mood at this time. He clenched his fists, gritting his teeth and growled that how was this possible? How could this be? That bitch actually did it. She really dared. Qin Zhaozhao also dared not believe her ears, so she asked the servant again, Zhang Yun, if he was sure that Lu Ling just needed to calculate a few numbers to turn the situation around. The servant immediately responded, absolutely for sure. The Yi family had sent someone bringing quite a few rare and extraordinary treasures to apologize. Qin Yun, in anger, squatted down and overturned the table with both hands, shouting that who cared about his treasures. He wanted that wasteland, his wasteland. Without the wasteland, how could he refine weapons? How could he improve his cultivation? How could he shock everyone at the autumn night banquet? In a fit of rage, Qin Yun drew his sword and cursed like a swat, promising to kill Ku Tianzhao's entire family. While Qin Yun was in a frenzy, Qin Zhaozhao finally couldn't hold back and coldly snorted that Yuner kept repeating the same thing. Didn't he find it tiresome to say it so many times? Hearing this, Qin Yun's expression stiffened. Sister, what did she mean by that? Qin Zhaozhao looked at Qin Yun without speaking, but her mind was filled with thoughts. Alas, how could someone who was once so formidable become a reckless person, only shouting for killing like this? But that prodigal son really did something unexpected this time. Qin Zhaozhao sighed, suppressed her emotions, and then said that Yuner, regarding his inheritance, their family still had a few small plots of land that could be temporarily used. Qin Yun showed his displeasure and said angrily that but this way, the time and efficiency would be greatly reduced. Returning to destiny, the most important thing was time. Even if the problem with the Ming Yuan stage was not significant, what about the Transcendence stage and Dao stage? When would he ever be able to reach the level of a top master in Mingzu? When would he be able to eliminate all those who dared to offend him? Sister, the more of a genius one was, the less they could afford to delay. Hearing this, Qin Zhaozhao fell silent. Alright, Yuner was not wrong. Time was indeed very important for destiny. After all, he had already suffered such significant losses. She should still empathize a little. Qin Zhaozhao smiled and said that Yuner should not be anxious. That prodigal son had said he wanted to refine jewelry, right? When the time came, he would definitely suffer losses. Qin Yun's eyes lit up upon hearing this. Sister, was she implying the Wasteland Guild? Speaking of the Wasteland Guild, this was an official organization established by the government to prevent the wastage of wasteland resources. Whenever there was wasteland trading, the Wasteland Guild would come to inspect the production and the minimum monthly profit. If the requirements were not met within the deadline, the wasteland and auction rights would be forcibly reclaimed. Sister was absolutely right. As long as they relied on that prodigal son, he would undoubtedly suffer terrible losses. In that case, the Wasteland Guild would reclaim this wasteland auction. Sooner or later, it would belong to them. Qin Zhaozhao nodded. That's right. However, the Ku family was a large clan, and there were quite a few refiners. Risking it all was not the best strategy. She was afraid those old men would come up with plans for that prodigal son. Before she could finish her sentence, footsteps suddenly sounded beside them. The two turned their heads and saw a figure shrouded in a cloak slowly approaching. He coldly said that it seemed they needed an ally. Qin Yun spoke up, asking who he was. The figure removed the black robe, revealing a familiar chubby face. Just as Ku Tianzhao had predicted, Manager Chu from the Ku family had indeed defected to the Qin family as an undercover agent. At the same time, in Ku family city, Ku Jin was reading the letter just delivered by a pigeon. He smirked. Oh, who would have thought this prodigal son would have such good fortune? If he had known he was determined to confront the Qin family, he wouldn't have needed to spread so many rumors. It seemed like a poor strategy now, but he could only go this far. Before Uncle and the others arrived in the city, the minions he arranged beforehand could be activated. The subordinate beside him spoke up, asking if he needed to use the pawn that was buried in the place years ago. Ku Jin slowly nodded, a mocking smile curling his lips. Indeed. Besides the royal land, there was also the invitation to the autumn night banquet. As the eldest son, if he didn't even have an invitation, how could he still have the face to compete for the position of head of the family with him? The subordinate spoke with concern, but young master, could they really rely on that person? After all, the Ku family was not to be underestimated. Ku Jin smiled confidently that if it were under normal circumstances, it would indeed be difficult to achieve, but who said that prodigal son was currently facing internal troubles and external threats? Not to mention that Manager Qin was secretly colluding with the Qin family and even reaching out to them with such dedication. Just Qin Zhaozhao alone would absolutely not allow her precious younger brother to fall into a disadvantageous position. Ku Jin had once inadvertently seen Qin Zhaozhao and Qin Yun in a questionable situation. He was confident that he could not misjudge a woman's feelings. The subordinate then spoke up, saying yes, young master, he understood. He would go and do it right away. Left alone, Ku Jin held his treasured sword, a sinister smile on his lips along with a murderous intent. Ku Tianzhao, he truly wanted to see how he would resolve this deadly situation. Having said that, he drew his sword and struck out with a fierce sword aura like a tornado, the sound of the wind howling like a hurricane. Ku Jin was very adept at controlling the sword chi. Ku Tianzhao on this side was being cursed behind his back, causing him to sneeze unexpectedly. While wiping his nose, Ku Tianzhao mutters that this sneeze must be cursed by either Qin Yun or the Ku Jin guy. He needed to quickly arrange his next plan so that they didn't seize the advantage. Ku Tianzhao sat looking at the system window while contemplating. The Spirit UI cultivation vessel was a one-time use. Even with 1,500,000 spirit coins, he couldn't break through to the Ming Yuan stage. Rather than that, he might as well use it all for the golden lottery, increasing the chance of receiving random items. With 1,500,000 spirit coins for the lottery, he wanted treasures related to refining. Ku Tianzhao proceeds to draw a prize. Opening the first chest, he immediately received a light blue scroll. Inside it read, Ancient Alchemy Manual, Tan Quan, Fragment Beautiful Model, Part 1. Ku Tianzhao thought to himself that indeed, a lot of money brings good things. This book, while not the complete version, was exactly what he needed most for crafting jewelry. Wait a minute, logically speaking, he had seized the wasteland from Qin Yun, so he should have suppressed the start of destiny already. But why hadn't the side quest rewarded him with anything? Could it be that this wasn't over yet? What could the variable be? At that moment, Lu Ling rushed in and said anxiously that young master, the people from the Wasteland Guild had arrived. The lady had gone to the main hall to welcome them and told her to inform him. Ku Tianzhao sneered that the Wasteland Guild, humph, so they've been waiting for him here. Outside the main hall, the representatives of the Wasteland Guild had arrived. The leading man respectfully greeted, saying that Deputy Ambassador from the Wasteland Guild, Lang Shu, respectfully greeted the first-rank lady. Ku Tianzhao replied gently that Deputy Ambassador Lang need not be so formal, please sit down and have some tea. Deputy Ambassador Lang, though still young, exuded an air of authority through his attire. He slowly said that the lady need not be polite, they were here simply to inquire about a couple of matters regarding her young master's acquisition of Wasteland. Ku Tianzhao and Lu Ling had just arrived. Ku Tianzhao smiled and said that Deputy Ambassador Lang need not ask his mother, just ask him. Deputy Ambassador Lang then said that since young Master Ku was here, he would speak frankly. He had heard that this was young Master Ku's first encounter with the Wasteland. May he ask how many treasures he planned to produce each month? What would be the profit? Ku Tianzhao sat down and replied that a monthly production of treasure should be 0. As for the profit, at this point, Ku Tianzhao suddenly changed his tone. Deputy Ambassador Lang, he was completely failing at his job. He was a prodigal son, and he dared to discuss profit with him. As soon as these words were spoken, Deputy Ambassador Lang, though prepared to make things difficult, was now dumbfounded. He showed a look of disbelief. What, was young Master Ku joking with them? Ku Tianzhao calmly sipped his tea, took a sip, then responded that he had said numerous times that he wanted to refine jewelry. Why did he not believe him? After hearing this, Deputy Ambassador Lang turned to Ku Chaoshi, clasped his hands, and said that ma'am, please forgive him. If the young master had made this decision, they would have to reclaim the wasteland at the beginning of next month. After all, the court had issued an order. The wasteland could not be toyed with. The tone of these words had made the intention clear, no longer polite. Ku Chaoshi lightly smiled and said that Deputy Ambassador Lang, no more acting. Everyone was intelligent. Just speak plainly. She also wanted to hear how the Wasteland Guild had set a boundary for Mike Seor. Deputy Ambassador Lang smiled and said that every month they must produce 600 treasures, of which 200 must be at least at the 7-stage foundation realm, and 100 must be Ming Yuan treasures. The profit each month must be at least 2 million spirit coins. Ku Tianzhao smiled upon hearing this. Haha, he knew it would be like this. Lu Ling spoke angrily that with less than 3 acres of wasteland, they demanded 600 treasures to be produced each month. It was truly absurd, especially the Ming Yuan stage treasures. There were only about 2,000 in Tianzhu City. Furthermore, they only spent 1,500,000 original stones for the land. And in the first month, they must generate 2 million. It was simply unreasonable. At this moment, Ku Chaoshi was also angry. She slammed her hand on the table and stood up, speaking loudly that this Wasteland Guild was provoking their Ku family, wasn't it? Had their Ku family given them too much face? Huh? Seeing Ku Chaoshi so furious, Deputy Ambassador Lang was startled and said that madam, please calm down. He wouldn't dare. This was all the intention of higher-ups in the guild. He was merely here to report. Additionally, there was another matter for the palace that he must report to them. He had just received the imperial decree that the invitations for this year's autumn night banquet had been reduced. They had all been distributed by today. As soon as this was said, Chaoshi slowly stood up and brushed past, not even glancing at Deputy Ambassador Lang, only turning to Ku Tianzhao and softly saying that little Xiao, did he think his mother was usually too easy to talk to? A moment later, Ku Chaoshi looked at Deputy Ambassador Lang, her expression dramatically changing, her aura suddenly turning cold. Just a glance was enough to make one feel suffocated. Even those little dogs and cats dared to bully her and her son. Seeing Chaoshi suddenly show this expression, Deputy Ambassador Lang was suddenly terrified and broke out in a cold sweat. However, remembering the instructions from someone, he still tried to speak up, saying that Madame Ku, this was all the will of the palace. Even if she killed him, it wouldn't help anything. At this moment, Ku Tianzhao let Ku Chaoshi sit down in her chair, massaging her shoulders while smiling and saying that mother, why was she angry with those little cats and dogs? It was nothing major. He could handle it himself. Ku Chaoshi changed her expression and smiled brightly. Oh, then that mother would see how little Xiao performed. Ku Tianzhao turned and coldly asked, Deputy Ambassador Lang, according to Zhu Luo, he was from the divine marquis family of Mingzhu. How could there be no guest list for the autumn night banquet? At this moment, Deputy Ambassador Lang no longer had to confront Chaoshi, regaining some confidence as he coldly said that the Ku family naturally had one. Soon, young Master Ku Huang would represent the Ku family at the autumn night banquet in Tianzhu City. Ku Tianzhao smirked slightly, haha, Ku Huang, wasn't he a capable subordinate of Ku Jin in the city? The Ku family in the city and the Ku family in Tianzhu had been separated for many years. This game was just a disguise to deceive. It was really too clumsy. Deputy Ambassador Lang spoke, his tone and expression clearly showing disdain. He dared to ask young Master Ku in the autumn night banquet, which did he excel in, martial arts or literature? A lazy person like him, who did not train diligently, was completely unworthy of participating in the autumn night banquet. As soon as he finished speaking, before Ku Tianzhao could respond, a loud laugh suddenly rang out from outside the door. Manager Chu, with a smug expression, walked in and directed his attention straight at Ku Tianzhao, holding a piece of remembrance jade in his hand, loudly proclaiming that haha, he, the old man, could testify that Deputy Ambassador Lang was absolutely right. This guy was fond of play and pleasure, lazy in training, and besides creating trouble, he knew nothing else. With evidence from the remembrance jade, he was completely unqualified to participate in the autumn night banquet. Although the incident occurred suddenly, Ku Tianzhao's expression did not change at all, as this was fundamentally within his calculations. He chuckled to himself, humph, this traitor had finally betrayed at the right moment, taking this opportunity to cleanse the inner sect and save time on cleanup. At this moment, Ku Chaoshi looked towards and said sternly that haha, it seemed everything had been arranged beforehand. Manager Chu, was this how he repaid the kindness of the old master? Manager Chu laughed loudly, haha. A wise person chooses where to work. The Qin family paid him 3 times the salary, while at the Ku family, he worked hard but had to endure this wasteful guy. He had negotiated with many old friends in the refining business, and they were leaving together. Hearing this, the other servants in the house couldn't contain their anger and continuously cursed. Chu Ming's actions were too ruthless. Even if he didn't like the young master, this was just too despicable. What tricks had Chu Ming used to make 3 of their refiners leave? Ku Tianzhao scoffed that if that was the case, Lu Ling, don't spare this guy's face anymore. Let the whole mansion see how Chu Ming operated under the guise of diligence. Lu Ling nodded gently and stepped forward, then took out a notebook and read aloud with confidence. At the beginning of July, the mansion purchased 15 pieces of glass, 2 screens, and 3 antiques. Chu Ming was the one who handled it, and the total cost was 750,000 spirit coins. But according to her inspection, this batch was worth at most 300,000 spirit coins. While speaking, Lu Ling decisively thrust the notebook into Chu Ming's face. He was startled and quickly said that she better shut up. Ku Tianzhao slowly stepped forward and gently asked, Lu Ling, according to Zhu law, what would be the punishment for embezzling more than 1 million? Lu Ling replied firmly that the lightest would be the revocation of cultivation, the penalty involving nose cutting, and if it was more serious. Manager Chu was sweating profusely, gritting his teeth and said that this was just her one-sided claim. Deputy Ambassador Liang also spoke up, saying that Chu brother, don't worry, they wouldn't sit back and do nothing. Ku Tianzhao scoffed, humph, before saying such words, think about whether he could preserve his own skin. Chu Ming was pulled outside by Deputy Ambassador Liang, but he was still very angry, trying to turn back and say, then just wait and see. Ku Chaoshi was very happy at this, exclaiming that little Xiao had become powerful now, even better at controlling the situation than her. Although in the wasteland, she temporarily had no good way either. If little Xiao wanted the lives of these two, she still had a way. Ku Tianzhao smiled and replied that mother didn't need to worry, he hadn't had enough fun yet. As for the money and refiners, Ku Chaoshi continued that mother understood. Everything would be according to his wishes. At this moment, Lu Ling approached, holding a list in hand, saying that young master, by your order, she had selected 20 first-class refiners. It's just that, although Lu Ling tried to hide it, there was still a hint of worry in her voice. Ku Tianzhao didn't even bother to look and simply replied that they shouldn't worry, the manpower in the mansion was lacking. First-class jewelry refining was enough. Anything higher would just be a waste. Lu Ling continued that currently, the total amount of money that could be used in the residence was 3,500,000 spirit coins. Ku Tianzhao was not surprised at all and said that yes, he guessed that. He heard that there was a significant hole on his father's side, which consumed quite a bit of money. Lu Ling questioned that 3,500,000 was not a small amount. She just heard that the Qin family suddenly invested 5 million, not only purchasing wasteland but also spending heavily to buy high-quality embryos. Ku Tianzhao was surprised. 5 million? Where did the Qin family get that money? Lu Ling replied that one was borrowing heavily from Baoxuan Gold Bank, and two, it wasn't fully investigated yet. Ku Tianzhao immediately guessed and smiled, saying that humph, no need to investigate further. Aside from Ku Jin, there was no one else. He didn't expect him to even work against them for the position of the family head. Lu Ling hesitated and said that then young master, what should they do now? Ku Tianzhao continued that yes, it was fine if they were short on money, they just had to cut back on spending. Lu Ling felt relieved upon hearing this. Fortunately, the young master still saw the situation clearly and was no longer blindly squandering. As soon as he finished speaking, Ku Tianzhao led Lu Ling to shop for the largest treasures in Tianzhu City. Those outside looking and marveled in admiration. Anyone who could enter the Baoxuan Pavilion for a stroll was wealthy. That's right, the cheapest incense burner here started at 200,000 spirit coins, especially the legendary incense burner from this shop, valued at 3.4 million spirit coins. At that moment, Ku Tianzhao stood right in front of the treasure display. He didn't even bother to look closely, just wildly gesturing, this one, this one, this one, that one of each. The shop owner was thrilled to see Ku Tianzhao buy him so much. Oh my! Young Master Ku was indeed the most generous person in the world. Lu Ling then understood what it meant to be difficult to change someone's nature. She couldn't help but exclaim, poof, how could he talk about being frugal? Ku Tianzhao naturally understood Lu Ling's feelings, so he said that Lu Ling didn't understand, the tougher it got, the more you needed to spend. Lu Ling hesitated. Yes, but the young master had already bought too much. Seeing Ku Tianzhao spending money so extravagantly, the others in the courtyard were curiously discussing. Wasn't this the prodigal son of the Ku family? Besides him, who in Tianzhu City could buy an incense burner so carelessly? Humph, if he wanted to play the fool, why not just ask for the legendary treasure of the store directly? Hearing this, Ku Tianzhao half closed his eyes and said to the shopkeeper that boss, please come out and bring your treasure. The shopkeeper happily replied that no problem, young Master Ku. After saying that, he brought out an incense burner wrapped in red cloth, intricately carved. Upon seeing it, everyone felt it was extraordinarily mysterious. The others gasped, knowing that refining weapons was different from refining medicines. The incense burner was absolutely not the deciding factor. The embryo device was what really mattered. This incense burner was indeed very impressive. If one could use this incense burner to refine weapons, it would be exceptional. It's just that the price was a bit. That's right. Moreover, this was an ancient incense burner. The art of refining weapons had been passed down for a long time, and this item was merely for display. Haha, only a fool would buy it. Unexpected yet not surprising, Ku Tianzhao took out a crystal card and decisively said that boss, he wanted this incense burner. Let's be straightforward. Was he selling it? Holding the crystal card confidently in his hand, Ku Tianzhao extended it forward and said, "Shopkeeper, he wanted to buy this incense burner for 3 million. Round number, please." Was he selling it? Hearing these words, everyone around was stunned and exclaimed, "What?" At that moment, Lu Ling could not say anything, resting her arm on her forehead and fainting. Well, this young master could not be saved anymore. Not seeing the shopkeeper respond for a long time, Ku Tianzhao pretended to leave, saying that if he wasn't planning to sell it, then forget it. The shopkeeper hurriedly replied that yes, of course. Young Master Ku really knew how to bargain well, including the earlier ones. The total was. Lu Ling quickly whispered in the young master's ear that their money was about to run out. Ku Tianzhao then turned to the shopkeeper and said that shopkeeper, he wasn't interested in those small incense burners from earlier. He only wanted this one. The manager smiled and said that no problem, young Master Ku. Next time they had good goods, he would inform him first. On the way back, Lu Ling couldn't help but wonder that young Master Ku wanted to refine jewelry. There was no need for an expensive incense burner like this. Now they were in trouble. They hadn't even bought the embryo's device, and their money was running out. Ku Tianzhao smiled gently and said that no need for the embryo's device. Last time he bought a batch of jewelry from Wangyang Gudao. Just use them to refine. Lu Ling worriedly said that, but young master, that batch of jewelry was all fake. He must have been deceived back then. Ku Tianzhao thought to himself that was before he took over this body. This body was indeed careless, buying things without looking, but that didn't matter. He turned to Lu Ling and said that Lu Ling should trust him, just follow him to a place, and she would understand. Lu Ling eagerly asked where that was. Ku Tianzhao replied lightly that it was the kangaroo building. Lu Ling hearing this became disheartened and covered her eyes, not wanting to look anymore. Oh my, what was she even looking forward to? Meanwhile, at the Qin family's main hall, a burst of wild laughter erupted. Ha 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 ha, wasting money was still wasting money. In the hall, the two sisters, Qin Yun, were joking around while Ku Stewart was mockingly recounting. Just waiting around had been ridiculous enough. Now he also liked the treasures from the shop. They asked for 2.8 million, and he insisted on paying 3 million to buy. Qin Yun and Qin Zhaozhao felt extremely amused hearing this. Ku Stewart smirked disdainfully and continued that he knew the situation of the Ku family better than anyone. Right now, they could at most offer him just over 3 million. He jumped in with 3 million without even buying an embryo's device. What could he possibly refine? Ha ha. Ku Tianzhao laughed and said that wait until their first batch of treasures was released. That wasteful guy would be doomed. Qin Zhaozhao chuckled softly, mocking that ha ha, the son of Zi Marquis was indeed born with too much privilege. At this moment, a subordinate entered to report that acting head, the Ku family had just sent someone to deliver an invitation. Qin Zhaozhao's expression changed in surprise. What? An invitation from the Ku family? Curious, Qin Zhaozhao opened the letter to read, the first jewelry exhibition of Ku Zhaozhao City will take place tomorrow. At that time, we will display the first batch of jewelry refined by the Ku family of Tianzhu. We sincerely invite you to come and see how you fail. Signed, the prodigal son who is both handsome and adorable. After finishing reading, Qin Zhaozhao chuckled softly, saying that it was written very well. She wanted to see what this prodigal son could do. The next morning, the jewelry exhibition of Tianzhu City was bustling with activity. Countless people and guests came to watch. Qin Zhaozhao and Qin Yun sat on the upper floor looking down and commented. They didn't expect that the prodigal son would have so many supporters, so many people. Qin Yun replied that surely they all came to mock him just like them. Manager Chu agreed, saying that's right, Miss Qin. Today, their first batch of treasures had produced 200 items. Putting 100 items from the 7th realm of the foundation stage, over 10 Mingyuan treasures, among which 3, after additional processing a few days, could reach the middle stage of the Mingyuan stage. Qin Zhaozhao appeared satisfied. She said that was great. The success of this batch of treasures was all thanks to the efforts of Manager Q in bringing skilled refiners. Manager Q humbly responded that not at all. If they talked about contributions, Qin Yun was the one who deserved the credit. Hearing this, Qin Yun smiled with self-satisfaction. Well, that was obvious. Here, they could say it was a perfect combination of favorable time, favorable geography, and harmonious relationships. Next, Deputy Ambassador Liang should also showcase his talents. Deputy Ambassador Liang, sitting beside them, smiled and spoke up that everyone should rest assured. The strong opposition between the Qin and Ku families didn't need to wait until the beginning of next month. Today, as long as that prodigal son was ridiculous enough, he would immediately announce the reclamation of the wasteland. Qin Yun seemed to be confident of victory, smiling as he said that sounded good. Just return the result, no explanation needed. At the same time, at King Rebuilding, Ku Tianzhao asked the courtesans loudly if it was almost time to go on stage. He emphasized once again. As if they had memorized it by heart, the courtesans simultaneously read aloud that first, the movements must highlight the jewelry. It should make women want to snatch their jewelry, not make men want to strip them. Second, the walk and demeanor must embody the attributes of the jewelry, which could be noble, gentle, or cold as ice. Ku Tianzhao nodded in satisfaction, saying very good. They all remembered what he said. Lu Ling spoke up that all right, everyone remembered clearly now. Let's prepare to go on stage. Ku Tianzhao smiled and continued that finally, he would remind them once again of their slogan. The courtesans shouted in unison that they were there to show off their wealth. Crushing others was just a side task. They were going to blind the Qin family's eyes. Outside the exhibition, the desire to win only made the two sisters of the Qin family more anxious. Qin Zhaozhao wondered why they hadn't shown up yet. Qin Yun sneered that humph, he must be scared. Was he trying to evade responsibility? Suddenly, at that moment, Qin Yun saw a man carrying a long stone block on his back walking up to the stage. Qin Yun felt that this object was very familiar. Qin Zhaozhao looked at it and said that this was a grinding stone, the hardest stone from Mingzhu. Only treasures from level 7 and above in refining could leave marks. This stone was completely out of place. Why bring it up at this time? What did he want to do? At this moment, Qin Yun remained very subjective, showing boredom, yawning a few times. Humph, it was definitely jewelry that couldn't be refined. He was just pretending to be mysterious. The man carried the stone pillar up and then stood it upright in the middle of the stage. After that, he declared loudly down below that welcome everyone to the first jewelry exhibition in Tianzhu City. They would start with a stunning dance performance. Right after that, a woman dressed in a light dance costume and adorned with many expensive pieces of jewelry appeared. Among them, a beautifully crafted jade hairpin stood out. The other young women below looked on with great admiration, each of them gazing with eyes that longed for a hairpin like that. This jade hairpin was truly exquisite, as if it could radiate a glow. They had never seen such a beautiful hairpin before. Qin Zhaozhao, sitting above, also showed some interest. The dance was very beautiful, and the person was very beautiful as well. The jade hairpin looked even more exquisite. Indeed, she had somewhat looked down on him. Qin Yun maintained a disdainful attitude, stating that he was just someone with a wealthy father who produced some flashy but worthless items. After all, the value of treasures and jewelry was as different as heaven and earth. At this moment, the artistic performance had also ended. The woman raised her hand to her head and gently pulled out the jade hairpin. Then, facing the grinding stone, she swiftly made 2 cuts, swish, swish, an invisible ripple spread out, and the hardest grinding stone of Mingzhu surprisingly had 2 deep dents appear. This demonstrated that the hairpin was at least a 7-stage treasure of the Foundation realm or higher. This directly left both sisters of the Qin family and Manager Q stunned, standing up and exclaiming, "What is this?" Qin Yun stammered, unable to speak. Was it a 7-stage of the Foundation realm a treasure? While the Qin family was still in extreme shock, Ku Tianzhao was leisurely enjoying tea, thinking to himself that ancient alchemy manual along with ancient incense burner, Qin family, Ku family city, wasteland guild. Let him see how he could make them all look foolish. After witnessing the appearance of a 7-stage of the Foundation realm treasure in the hands of that beautiful woman, everyone around began to excitedly discuss, "Oh my! This hairpin was not only beautiful but also a treasure." If they could possess something like this in this life, it would be worth dying for. Some even demanded out of sheer admiration that their fathers, no matter how much money it took, must buy them one. At this moment, Qin Zhaozhao still couldn't believe her eyes. How was this possible? A 7th stage of the Foundation Realm treasure was worth more than all the scrap metal he'd ever used combined. Qin Yun angrily said that this wasn't right, this must be a scam. They must have used treasures to mix in. Manager Q agreed, saying that young Master Qin was absolutely right. The Ku family had a large business. Even taking items from home could yield treasures like that. Deputy Ambassador Liang, sitting next to him, was also furious, gritting his teeth and hissing that damn. As long as he discovered they were cheating, he would immediately reclaim the wasteland. At that moment, a servant serving tea looked straight down and said that but the fluctuation of spiritual energy just now clearly indicated that this treasure was just recently refined. Hearing this, Manager Q turned around and disdainfully said that he had already said it. The Ku family had a large business and could afford to buy even freshly refined items. Deputy Ambassador Liang also insulted what kind of lowly creature he was to dare question young Master Qin's words. At this moment, Qin Yun temporarily swallowed his resentment and snorted coldly. Below the stage, the jewelry exhibition of Tianju City officially began. Group 1, Fang Lang Group, appears. As those words were spoken, a group of women gracefully glided out from behind. Each woman had a different demeanor, but all walked lightly like clouds and winds towards the stage. The first woman raised a J-ring in her hand, then waved her hand as if to strike a palm attack at the grinding stone. Instantly, spiritual energy dispersed and simultaneously, a deep crack appeared on the grinding stone. This is the treasure's 8th stage of the Foundation Realm, the white J-ring. Qin Zhaozhao stared in surprise. Another treasure's 8th stage of the Foundation Realm. Qin Yun gritted his teeth in anger and said that he wanted to see how long he could endure. Before Qin Yun's anger could subside, the next woman casually walked over. Wearing an exquisite bracelet on her wrist, she also elegantly performed a few moves, executing some gentle techniques, which created another crack on the grinding stone. This is the treasure's 9th stage of the Foundation Realm, the gilded bracelet. The next woman approached, wearing a jingling bell on her ankle, and showcased her jewelry with a few graceful movements before kicking out, causing yet another crack to appear on the grinding stone. This shaking of her leg is the treasure's 10th stage of the Foundation Realm, the jade footbell. Next was a young woman with captivating emerald eyes and willow-like eyebrows. She wore gilded and jade inlaid earrings, treasures of the 11th stage of the Foundation Realm. On her pinky finger, she wore gilded gemstone armor, treasures of the 12th stage of the Foundation Realm. All the women standing below went wild, screaming uncontrollably. Seeing this pile of treasure made them lose control, shouting until their throats were hoarse. They couldn't take it anymore. These pieces of jewelry? No treasures. Even the first-tier refiners of Mingzhu couldn't create such beautiful items. They swore they'd sell their whole estate to get one. At this moment, Qin Yun's face darkened, gritting his teeth and growling. Damn it, the Ku family could buy so many good items. Below the stage, a young woman slowly approached. Everyone below went crazy, shouting what? Were there Ming Yuan stage treasures? Given the spiritual power and light emitted from this hairpin, it must be Ming Yuan stage, no doubt. Oh my, was this really jewelry? This young woman leisurely walked forward, holding a hairpin. Once she reached the grinding stone, she held the tip of the hairpin and steadily thrust it straight into the grinding stone. The stone slab that contained many discarded marks was now broken by this gentle stab. Fragments of stone flew wildly, and the spiritual energy dispersed frantically. Qin Yun couldn't help but stand up and bang the table. Mingzhu treasures. How was this possible? Qin Zhaozhao, the side dem, questioned Manager Chu skeptically that didn't he say the Ku family could give that prodigal son at most 3 million? How could he have spent all 3 million on the incense burner? The remaining amount was clearly not enough to buy these brand new treasure ornaments. Manager Chu, at this moment, also didn't understand what was happening, only knowing to stammer a reply that he didn't know about this either, old man. At that moment, Ku Tianzhao called out from inside that the Fanglang jewelry was light yet powerful, aimed at protecting the girls from being bullied. As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd below became more stirred. That was the voice of young Master Ku. Where was he? Was he using treasures to convey his voice to them? Ku Tianzhao was in the room, holding a speaker in his hand, and slowly continued speaking that moreover, these treasures required extremely low usage, so even an ordinary person could unleash 5/10 of the power of the treasures. Just now, the final blow was 5/10 of the power of the Ming Yuan treasures at the low stage. Let him ask them, how many people here could withstand that blow? The people outside nodded in agreement. After all, if they were to take such a blow, they would definitely be reduced to pulp and bones. An ordinary person could also unleash 5/10 of the power of the treasures, which was already quite formidable. That's right, this meant that anyone could use it. This was exactly the jewelry they had always desired. Ku Tianzhao then continued that the Fanglang Group jewelry, this batch had only 120 sets, of which 30 sets were from the Ming Yuan low stage. If they wanted to buy it, they should wait for the next group to finish their presentation and find his steward, Lu Ling, to purchase. Whoever came first got it first. Qin Yun was stunned and stood up exclaiming that 120 sets of treasures and were 30 sets from the Ming Yuan stage among them. Qin Zhaozhao was also at a loss for words. Was there really going to be another group? Manager Chu stammered, unable to articulate anything. Deputy Ambassador Liang had no more excuses and could only grit his teeth in silence. At that moment, an announcement rang out, "Next group prepare." As soon as the words were spoken, two men appeared holding a black cloth, which they spread out in front of the stage. The cloth was large and black, causing fear among the women below. They wondered what this was for, what kind of fabric it was, as they had never seen anything like it. It looked so strange. Another voice echoed that "Show of your wealth group appear." As soon as the words were spoken, another group of stunning women stepped forward gracefully. Each adorned with brilliant jewelry, they looked even more exquisite and high-end than before. The courtyard was now buzzing with excitement. Oh, they were coming. Wasn't that the top girl from King Rebuilding, Miss Ying Su? Miss King was also here. They were all famous girls from King Rebuilding, typically so rare, they were worth a fortune to see. Was this batch of jewelry all from the middle stage of the Ming Yuan stage? Oh my, it really was all from the middle stage of the Ming Yuan stage. This batch of jewelry was even more exquisite and special than the previous one. Qin Yun was horrified. On the stage, there were 15 pieces of jewelry from the middle stage of the Ming Yuan stage. This had never happened at Mingzhu. Could it really be that he hadn't refined them? Qin Yun, gritting his teeth in anger, said that "Master, didn't he say that the technique for refining weapons he passed on to him was unique in the world? Why was he able to refine more and better than him?" The mysterious old man in the relic black ring appeared, observing for a while before saying that his weapon refining technique was based on the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, with soul power aiding the fire. It was the highest level refining technique in Mingzhu. To surpass them was absolutely impossible. In the room at that moment, Ku Tianzhao seemed to guess the underlying situation, leisurely sipping tea and thinking that Qin Yun, no matter how much depth he had, how could he compare to his ancient alchemy manual and ancient incense burner? Humph. He thought Qin Yun was definitely about to succumb to inner demons again. He hoped he could hold on a little longer, because the best part was just beginning. At this moment, Qin Yun felt as if he had been slapped in the face, embarrassingly sitting down, holding his head and murmuring what could he say? Absolutely nothing. They had already slapped him in the face. Seeing her younger brother in such despair, Qin Zhaozhao was extremely worried. Yunar's inner demons were likely rising again. She could not let that prodigal son continue to provoke him. But before she could think of a countermeasure, Qin Zhaozhao was left stunned again. She saw a woman holding a middle stage of the Ming Yuan stage treasure, a jade ring, nonchalantly and without hesitation dropping it onto the black cloth. Then a strange force rushed over and directly smashed the jade ring into pieces. After smashing it, the woman turned around and gently smiled, saying that the young master said that any items with poor color should be thrown away. The middle stage of the Ming Yuan stage was just trash. The entire hall suddenly fell silent, then suddenly erupted with exclamations. Oh my, what was this situation? A group, show of your wealth group, Qin Yun and Qin Zhaozhao were both shocked by what they witnessed. Qin Yun gripped the railing tightly, his throat stiff as he struggled to speak. Was it really possible for a middle-stage Ming Yuan stage treasure to be smashed like that? Before they could recover, another woman stepped up without hesitation. She took out a middle-stage Ming Yuan stage hairpin and threw it down below. In an instant, it shattered into pieces. The woman smiled and said that the young master mentioned that he only wanted to hear one sound. Everyone below gasped. Another Ming Yuan treasure had been destroyed. Was it possible that all middle-stage Ming Yuan stage treasures would be ruined next? What a show-off! This was completely a waste of heavenly treasures. While those below were still lamenting over the destruction of the treasures, another woman approached. This woman had legs that reached her waist, her ankles adorned with jingling treasures as she elegantly walked back and forth a few steps. Then she stomped down hard, causing the jingling treasures to break into fragments. The young master said that these treasures were all wonderful, but he didn't like them. The following scenes of destruction made the citizens' hearts ache deeply. There were jade bangles and earrings, all of which were Ming Yuan stage treasures being smashed to pieces without mercy by that group of women. Crazy. This was insane. Everyone in the courtyard was completely at a loss for words. What did they see? What did they hear? They encountered a rich young master, and with just one word out of place, they smashed treasures. They could casually break Ming Yuan stage treasures for show, and they didn't hesitate at all. This was Ming Yuan stage treasures. How many people toiled their whole lives, not to mention possessing them, had even had the opportunity to see the middle stage of the Ming Yuan stage with their own eyes? Today, there was a chance to see them, and yet it had turned out like this. Below the stage, a group of men felt as if their hearts had broken. A group of women was heartbroken to the point of wanting to die, as if those pieces of jewelry were their very lives. Please, don't smash anymore. If they had to break something, break them instead. Don't destroy anymore, save some for others. Manager Q's face darkened, looking like a rock. Oh my, the power of this prodigal son was terrifying. Was he standing on the wrong side? Deputy Ambassador Liang, at that moment, had to swallow hard. Just counting the things he had smashed, it seemed that it was enough to meet their monthly revenue target of 2 million. Qin Zhaozhao looked at Qin Yun with concern. If he kept smashing like this, let alone anyone else, even she was about to give in to inner demons. Qin Yun, at this moment, felt as if he encountered a ghost. He had always believed he had reached the pinnacle of Kuya refinement techniques in Tianzhu City, and even in Mingzhou. This time, he thought that he would not lose to that prodigal son. He had been confident that he was well prepared to crush everything, but when he proudly thought he had refined a treasure with the potential to break through to the middle stage of the Ming Yuan stage, others seemed to easily grasp that type of treasure and play with it. No, he was destiny. What was that prodigal son? He hadn't even refined to the middle stage of the Ming Yuan stage. What did he rely on? Qin Yun's thoughts were reaching a breaking point. Ming Lu confidently stepped onto the stage, wearing a dazzling hairpin filled with spiritual energy atop her head. The crowd below exclaimed, "Look, Miss Ming Lu was on stage." The hairpin on her head. Could it be an upper-level treasure of the Ming Yuan stage? Qin Zhaozhao was also stunned and remarked that upper-level treasure of the Ming Yuan stage. It must be hard work of that prodigal son. Even if it was flaunting, it must be a conclusion. It couldn't just be destroyed endlessly. Qin Yun couldn't think further, desperately shouting that it was impossible. He wouldn't destroy it. This was just a trick. Just a trick. Manager Q said in fear that if this was also destroyed, he was afraid his good days were over. Deputy Ambassador Liang gritted his teeth and said that not just him, he was afraid his official robes would also be stripped from him. At this moment, Ming Lu on stage simply revealed a faint smile, gently removed the hairpin and softly said that the young master said, "If you had money, there was no need for reasoning. If you had money, you could do what you please." Seeing Ming Lu's actions, everyone below felt terrified and mumbled in pleading. Ming Lu on stage paid no attention, merely smiling faintly. What was the use of having so much money that you let the hairpin fall down? Clang. The upper-level treasures of the Ming Yuan stage shattered into pieces. Qin Yun let out a scream. Noah, a mouthful of blood, spewed out with a shout. Immediately after, he lost consciousness and fell backward. Qin Zhaozhao hurriedly caught him, shouting for her younger brother. At that moment, Ku Tianzhao spoke up from inside that the show of your wealth had finished. Next, he wanted to ask everyone, aside from being astonished, did anyone notice the black cloth on the stage? At this moment, everyone became aware and started discussing. Oh my god, they almost forgot. How could the treasures of the Ming Yuan stage be so easily broken? Hearing this, Qin Zhaozhao guessed that could it be that legendary item? Ku Tianzhao replied that that's right, this was the legendary Tang Zan Realm fire washing cloth which he happened to forge this time. Next, he would study whether it could be made into beautiful clothing. Hearing that, the people below joyfully discussed. Oh my, what else could they say besides wanting to have it? At this moment, Qin Zhaozhao above seemed to accept defeat, gritting her teeth and bitterly saying that let's go. The announcement rang out again that the Fang Lang jewelry group had not been smashed. Anyone who wanted it could find Lu Ling. After all, it might be a long time before they practiced again. Everyone below rushed to find Lu Ling, shouting. They wanted it, they wanted it. Ku Tianzhao inside finally dared to let out a relaxed sigh and then lay down on the bed. It was finally over. Next was to have a good sleep, just waiting for the noble person to arrive in Tianzhu City. At the same time, at the front line of Huang Yunhu Dao, the wind howled violently. Suddenly, a convoy appeared in the sandstorm. At this moment, a voice came from within the carriage that the sandstorm was too strong. They should set up camp and rest here. Right after that, a handsome man stepped out of the car, holding a paper fan, looking at the surroundings. Without thinking, he recited that yellow sand and white grass were endless. He was afraid of hearing the sound of water and felt so sad. This man was the 7th prince of Mingzhu, Lu Tian Yuan. Moments later, a delicate young girl poked her head out of the car and asked why they had stopped again. This young woman was the little princess of Mingzhu, Lu Meyer. Lu Meyer got out of the car and walked over to Tian Yuan, asking why they'd keep finding reasons to stop and set up camp, dragging it out like this. If they missed the deadline, how would they explain it to their father? Tian Yuan patted his little sister's head and kindly said that Meyer didn't know yet. The autumn night banquet this time was really too deep in internal affairs. Meyer worriedly asked what was really going on. Tian Yuan replied that currently, the situation in the city was unpredictable. Duke Xin had allied with the Divine Marquis against Marquis Zai Yi. The court had 2 Grand Chancellors. Grand Chancellor Mo clearly supported the Qin family. Grand Chancellor Wu had not shown his stance yet, but he also had no intention of supporting Marquis Zai Yi. To balance things out, their father sent them to Tianzhu City this year to assist Marquis Zai Yi. Meyer wondered that if that was the case, should they ride faster? Tian Yuan shook his head slightly. Oh, the trouble lay here. Someone had been secretly plotting against them on their way here. The little princess was surprised, asking who it was and how they acted against them. Tian Yuan replied that an old man at his side had been bought off, for he was originally one of the opponent's people. Using the excuse of the young master being incompetent, he had given Tianzhu Ku family's share to the Ku family in the city. The little princess was alarmed, questioning if they were bringing disaster upon themselves by coming to Tianzhu City. Zai Yi Marquis protected those he loved, and he might see them as irreconcilable enemies. Moreover, this went against their father's wishes. Tian Yuan sighed, stating that he'd been thinking a lot during the past few days on the road. Right now, they could only sever ties, whoever won would receive support. If not, the reputation of hesitance would reach their father's ears, and they shouldn't even think about the throne. As for balancing matters, he would report to their father later and figure it out gradually. The princess furrowed her brow and said that but given the current situation of the Ku family, it seemed difficult to turn things around. She did not like the Qin family and liked Grand Chancellor Mo even less. She did not wish to ally with them. Tian Yuan chuckled softly, saying that she was no different from him. At that moment, a subordinate approached, presenting a letter with both hands, saying that there was news from Tianzhu City. Tian Yuan was surprised. Oh, had the winner been decided so quickly? Tian Yuan took the letter and read it. A few seconds later, he displayed an admiring expression, involuntarily breaking into a smile. Haha, how interesting. That squandering fellow really knew how to play. He dared to smash it to establish his dominance and gave orders to set off immediately. They would enter Tianzhu City tonight. Also, send a message to the Wasteland Guild that the gift could be dispatched now. The servant replied, Yes, Your Highness. At the east of the city in the Qing family residence, an old man dressed in a brown robe stood. This man was none other than the Qing family patriarch. In a voice filled with anger, he shouted at his subordinates that they were worthless. He gave them so many days, and yet they only managed to secure half of the Ku family's treasure agency rights. The man kneeling below was Manager Yuan, who humbly replied that the master should calm his anger. The truth was, the Jin family from the west side of the city acted far too quickly. The Qing family patriarch roared that they were worthless and still dared to make excuses. Just then, a servant rushed in from outside, panting as he reported that there was good news. The Jin family from the west of the city was no longer competing with them. They'd already withdrawn. The Qing family patriarch was surprised. Why did they withdraw? What happened? The servant smiling said that it seemed the Jin family took some bad medicine and ran off to claim the rights to some jewelry agency. The Qing family patriarch puzzled asked what jewelry. At that moment, another panic-stricken subordinate rushed in to report that sir, it was bad. Tianzhu City was going crazy. The whole city had lost its mind. The Qing family patriarch was anxious, asking what all the panic was about. What was going on? Speak clearly so he could understand. At Ku Tianzhu's location, everyone was scrambling to buy treasures from him. They didn't even care about the initial prices, directly competing with each other and raising the prices several times over. The subordinate spoke up that sir, the treasures of the Ku family that the Jin family didn't take belonged to them. He would contact them right away. The Qing family patriarch suddenly kicked a subordinate and shouted to contact his brain. Quickly take all their assets out. Prepare gifts, prepare cars. He would personally go to the Ze Marquise's mansion. The subordinate hesitated, asking what about the Ku family. Sir, the Qing family patriarch snapped that what Ku family at this time? Hurry up and prepare. If they delayed, there would be nothing left to earn money from. At the Jin family in West City, things were also urgently underway. The Jin family had quickly commanded to increase the manpower, double the list of gifts, then bring them to the Ze Marquise's mansion. Hurry up! Don't let the Qing family notice and act first. North of the city, the Hao family was the same. The head of the Hao family was going to the Ze mansion with his daughter. He told her not to worry, he would buy everything for her. This Hao was excited, saying he wanted the most expensive ones. Smash them for fun. They had to show off their wealth. At the Nan family in the south of the city, the patriarch was carrying a pile of wealth to buy jewelry from Ku Tianzhu. The servants had to hold his legs to stop the patriarch. This was not right. If he took all their assets, what would happen to their other businesses? The Nan family patriarch replied that they were too stupid. As long as they secured the jewelry dealership, it didn't matter if the other businesses closed down. At this moment in the Ze mansion courtyard, Ku Tianzhu and Lu Ling were taking a stroll. Lu Ling exclaimed in admiration that young master, he was truly amazing. Their first batch of jewelry had been completely raided. Aside from the money spent on buying the barren land and incense burners, they had also made a considerable profit. She heard that Qin Yun was so furious he had to be carried away. Ku Tianzhu laughed heartily in response. Ha ha. Now did she still dare to call him a spendthrift? Lu Ling replied shyly that she saw her mistake now. Young master. In the past, her perspective was too narrow. Looking back, ever since he started throwing money to appraise the barren land, he had been planning for a long time. Ku Tianzhu nodded slightly, saying that it wasn't too late for her to realize now, and her analysis was quite good. Lu Ling wondered that it was just that no matter how they were, she never expected that the young master also understood the ancient method of refining qi. This had clearly disappeared for a long time. Ku Tianzhao felt uneasy upon hearing this and stammered, looking for an excuse. Ha ha. He just happened to buy some trinkets. It was all just coincidental. Lu Ling explained that the young master indeed had great fortune, but young master, there was still one thing she didn't understand. The treasures from the Ming Yuan stage were all priceless. Wasn't he really reluctant to break them all? Ku Tianzhao explained that using these things to impress the nobleman was worth far more. Getting a ticket to the autumn night banquet was such a bargain. At that moment, a subordinate came over to report that young master, the 4 great wealthy merchants of Tianzhu City from the east, west, south, and north had come to see him. They almost fought outside the door. Ku Tianzhao yawned and said that he was feeling sleepy now, so he was going to bed. Lu Ling, you take care of negotiating with them. Lu Ling clasped her hands in acceptance. Yes, young master. At that time, in the Wasteland Guild, the chairman holding a long sword with a grim expression and a fierce aura shouted loudly that he was lying to them, Deputy Ambassador lying. He was really bold. He had just secluded himself for less than 7 days, and they had caused such a big incident. Liang Shu was then kneeling on the ground, trembling with fear, stuttering as he spoke. The chairman waved his hand to interrupt, saying that all right, they should not explain any more. It was too late for them to say anything now. Hearing this, Liang Shu's voice trembled even more. He asked if the chairman really wanted to expel him from the guild. The chairman squinted at Liang Shu and disdainfully said that expel him from the guild? Ha ha. Did he think it was that simple? Did he really think that a small trick like that could deceive the 7th prince? Liang Shu was sweating profusely, feeling puzzled all over. What did this have to do with the 7th prince? The chairman coldly said that he should stop pretending. He planned to secure victory, but he had no idea how clever the 7th prince was. How could he be easily dragged into murky waters? If he had won, then it would be a different story, but now he had lost. Did he still have any face left? Right now, he was just a lost dog, a discarded pawn that everyone had abandoned. As he spoke, the chairman of the Wasteland Guild pressed his sword against Liang Shu's neck. Liang Shu, in a panic, said that no, the chairman could not touch him. Behind him was City Chun. No, it was Grand Chancellor Mo. Before he could finish his sentence, the chairman of the Wasteland Guild struck, directly hitting Liang Shu's head. Fresh blood splattered from the blade. He called him a fool. He told him that he was a discarded pawn. Even when he died, no one would collect his body. The chairman loudly ordered his subordinates to take his head and prepare a generous gift along with an invitation to the autumn night banquet and deliver everything to the residence of Marcus Zai. Moreover, those who came with Liang Shu to provoke the Tianzhu family, expel them all from the guild. By the way, find a way to reclaim the large wastelands of the Qin family. At the Qin family home, Qin Yun was in a coma, lying helplessly on the bed with an increasingly gloomy appearance. Qin Zhaozhao sat next to him, concerned and caring. At this moment, Manager Chu was pacing back and forth as if his feet were stung by ants. His complexion was not good either. His face was pale and he was sweating profusely. He was anxiously thinking to himself what he should do. What should he do? Liang Shu was suddenly summoned by the Wasteland Guild and there hadn't been any news yet. How foolish. Why was this old man who was comfortably at the Zai Marcus residence having to deal with this? It was over. This time it was really over. At that moment, a young man entered the room. He was the eldest son of the Qin family, Qin Yang. He smirked and said that Qin Zhaozhao, the head of the family, had news. He said that she was not worthy of being the vice head of the family at all. Qin Zhaozhao coldly retorted that the head of the family surely wasn't planning to demote her from the position of vice head and have him take her place, right? Qin Yang angrily replied that she humph. The head of the family said this time there must be no repeats. Qin Zhaozhao replied that that was enough. Qin Yang, it was still too early for him to replace Qin Yun and take her place. If there was nothing else, he should get lost and not disturb Yun while she rested. Qin Yang sneered, humph. Qin Zhaozhao, instead of pointing fingers at him here, she should think about how to solve that mess. As soon as these words were spoken, Qin Zhaozhao's eyes dimmed somewhat. After hesitating for a moment, she said that they should keep half of the wasteland and sell the rest. Qin Yang scoffed, "Humph. She was lucky the master had the same intention." Saying this, he pointed at Manager Chu and continued that but the master also said that this person must be handed over. Manager Chu hurried to Qin Zhaozhao and pleaded for her to save him. If he was handed over to the Ziyi Marquis, he was definitely dead. Qin Zhaozhao ignored Manager Chu, coldly saying that she had no objections. As for the former alchemy matters, they should all take care of it themselves. Qin Yang ordered someone to tie this one up and hand him over to the Ziyi Marquis. Manager Chu knew at that moment that there was no way to salvage the situation. So he took his last breath and shouted loudly that Qin Zhaozhao was a bitch. How did she promise? Even in death, he would not spare her. Qin Zhaozhao turned to look at Qin Yun, feeling a hint of disappointment in her heart, along with a sense of regret. Thinking back to the past when Qin Yun had been so carefree and noble, made her feel even more sorrowful. Seeing Qin Yun unconscious and seemingly dreaming of a nightmare, muttering repeatedly about the prodigal son, "Kill him," she stood up and sighed that this couldn't continue. This prodigal son, she didn't care whether he truly had a strategy or if it was just luck. Night. He must die by her hands. A determined glint appeared in Qin Zhaozhao's eyes, mixed with a sense of killing intent.